Chapter 1455. The Huaxia spacecraft landed in the deserted city. The blue moon in the sky blocked the entire Hope Star, and the surveillance on the ground was at its maximum. The Huaxia came with a superjammer, but it was not any electronic warfare equipment from the Archimedes Empire. Instead, it was the crystal skull that Charlotte had obtained from the Forest of Rest. It had the same mysterious energy as the crystal skull. Even the blue moon in the sky could not monitor the existence of this ancient spacecraft. Otherwise, if it flew out of the Forest of Rest, the Blue Moon people's aerial fleet would probably arrive. The weapons from the vehicles were unloaded from the spacecraft and then entered the underground city through the subway tunnel. There were also weapons production equipment and so on. There were too many resources. Just unloading and transferring them to the underground city would probably take an entire night. What a prodigal! I can't take it anymore. My heart is dying. Beside the Resistance Army's warehouse, Lan Jie covered her perky breast. She looked like she was dying of heartache. A yearly deposit of 300,000 Blue Moon dollars and 1 billion Blue Moon dollars in ransom for the Star of Ice. This amount of money made her develop a greedy habit. Although she did not have to worry about the 300,000 security deposit and the 1 billion ransom that she could never earn in her lifetime, her greedy habit could not be corrected in a day or 3. Charlotte had given so many energy weapons and equipment to the Resistance Army. How could she not feel heartache? Moreover, these were relics of the Archimedes Empire's royal family. She had the right to inherit them. Silly. My beautiful boss, you should be worried about that woman, not these resources, Hao Feng, who was standing beside Lan Jie said. Hao Feng, who was standing next to Lan Jie said, that commander of the resistance. She's so beautiful, and she's the same as my boss. Be careful that she doesn't poach you and seduce my boss into her bed. Don't call me boss. I'm not your boss. Lan Jie had never liked Hao Feng. Hao Feng shrugged, but it was actually his entire head. If you're not boss, why would I waste time talking to you? Idiot. Lan Jie opened her mouth to scold him, but she swallowed her words. It was not that she did not want to or dare to. It was because that was what Hao Feng liked and wanted the most. I don't like this place, Shan Pu, who was wearing a custom-made robe, said in rock spirit language. Neither Lan Jie nor Hao Feng left it. This was Charlotte's team. There was no spirit of unity at all. They could quarrel for a long time without any reason. However, how could Sui dare to underestimate such a team? Charlotte came over with 8 girls from Mu village. They chatted as they walked. Big brother Xia, can we really join the resistance army? Mu Kaihong was a little worried and nervous. Charlotte smiled and said, Don't worry, you guys don't have to be nervous or worried about anything. I've already told Commander Kanto that you guys will join the logistics department of the Resistance Army and start as new recruit. I believe in your abilities. You guys have been learning mechanic knowledge for such a long time. You guys will definitely become outstanding mechanic. Thank you, Big Brother Xia. You've helped us a lot. Mu Xiaohong said. I feel like we're just like you. Mu Yu slapped her forehead, her face full of confusion. It's so strange. I clearly have that feeling, but I can't remember anything. Charlotte followed and said, Don't let your imagination run wild. Do a good job after joining the army. That's the best way to repay me. We'll definitely do a good job. The girls from Mu village expressed their stance one after another. Just like that, they became good friends. Charlotte brought the girls from Mu village to the warehouse, where he saw Kanto Nana and Liang Tao. He had already told Kanto Nana beforehand, so the process of new recruits joining the resistance army was so simple that it only required a nod and a sentence. With a smile on her face, Kanto Nana said to the girls in a very friendly manner, Welcome to the resistance army. From now on, we'll all be comrades. Liang Tao held Mu Xiang's hand in a very friendly manner. I'll take good care of you guys and give you the care of a family member. Charlotte said lightly, Be wary of this uncle. He's a very fickle man. Many women have fallen into his hand. The girls from Mu village immediately looked at Liang Tao with vigilant eyes. Mu Xiang also hurriedly pulled her little hand away from Liang Tao's hand. Her smiling face turned red. Liang Tao looked at Charlotte speechlessly. Brother, is there a need to do this? Charlotte said with a smile, I'm their big brother. Of course, I have to protect them. Liang Tao smiled. I understand. Don't worry, I'll take good care of them. The care I'm talking about is real care, not that kind of care. And Gu Kursin, as long as I'm alive, I'll never allow anyone to bully her. Thank you, brother. Charlotte knew what he was talking about. His heart was filled with gratitude. This was considered as saying goodbye to the girls from Mu village. When they returned to Ping'an residence, Polisai had already packed his things. Lan Mu's father was also there. He was very tactful. Good son-in-law, you guys chat. I'll go out for a while. He emphasized the word good son-in-law, as if he was reminding Polisai of something. Charlotte said politely, Thank you. Lan Mu's father left the room, but he did not go far. Instead, he stayed in the corner and waited. Charlotte knew that Lan Mu's father was hiding in the corner and eavesdropping. He wanted to chase him away, but he swallowed the words that were on the tip of his tongue. All good things must come to an end. His and Polisai's story could be considered to have come to an end. Polisai had already made her decision. He had to respect her decision. Polisai looked at Charlotte with a loving gaze. After a long silence, she said, I'm leaving. Lan Mu's father said that our clansmen will be coming to desolate border city soon. Charlotte nodded. Take care. Lan Ji-er is a good girl. You have to treat her well. Polisai's voice was filled with sadness. Although you two are not married yet, an Akimis woman is willing to milk you. That means that she will never accept another man in this life. She has already set her mind on you. Charlotte was slightly stunned. He did not tell Polisai that Lan Ji-er was milking him. This secret was either told by Lan Ji-er or Lan Mu's father. This seemed to be a very important reason for her decision to break up with him, but it was not important anymore. Polisai suddenly walked over and reached out to hug Charlotte's waist. Thank you for everything you have given me. I will pray for you in the temple of the sky and ask the God of the sky to bless you. Charlotte's heart was also filled with sadness. He said in her ear, Live well. Everything will be fine. Polisai nodded and quietly looked at Charlotte. There were tears in the corners of her eyes, and her lips were bright and plump. Charlotte leaned over. He wanted to give her a goodbye kiss. But just as his lips were about to touch Polisai's, Polisai let go of him and took a step back, avoiding his kiss. We can't do this anymore. I'm leaving. Polisai carried her backpack, looked deeply at Charlotte, and then stepped out of the door. Charlotte watched her leave. When she disappeared at the door, he felt a sense of loss in his heart. His encounter with Polisai, he had never wanted to be with her. But because of various reasons, he and she had a dewy relationship. Even if there were no feelings in the beginning, as time passed, he still had some feelings in his heart. Now that she had left, how could he not feel sad and lost? However, Polisai had left, and he had also been able to relax. He did not have any emotional debts on him now, and he could let go and do what he wanted to do. Good son-in-law, I'll leave my daughter to you. Take good care of her. Lan Mu's father's voice came from the corridor. Charlotte said, Don't worry, I'll take good care of her. You guys should get together soon. You guys aren't young anymore. I want to be a grandfather as soon as possible. The Akimis Empire also needs a prince to inherit it. Charlotte was speechless. Lan Mu's father and Polisai left. Charlotte's vision was penetrating the entire time, and he only looked away when Polisai could no longer be seen. Not long after Polisai left, a new guest came to Peace Curtilage. It was the village chief of Peace Village, Lianai, but she was stopped by Hao Fong, who was guarding the door. Hey! Girl, who are you looking for? Hao Feng asked, not at all polite. Li and I glanced inside the door. I'm looking for Charlotte. Why are you looking for my boss? I'm his good friend. I'm here to see him. Go tell him that I'm Li and I. He'll definitely see me, Li and I said. I'll ask. Hao Feng's short legs bounced, and his square body flew up with a whoosh, passing through the window on the second floor and entering the room. Charlotte smiled bitterly. Isn't there a spaceship's communicator? Hao Feng said, that's because I'm smart. If you don't want to see her and your voice comes out through the communicator, she'll be very sad if she hears it. You actually care about someone? All right, go tell her that I'm not here, Charlotte said. Got it. Hao Feng flew out the window again. A second later, there was the sound of metal hitting the ground. Charlotte covered his eyes. Hao Feng got up from the ground. My boss isn't here. Where did he go? Li and I had a disappointed expression. Tell me, I'll go find him. Hao Feng said. He went to visit a prostitute. Li and I was speechless. Go away, flat-chested girl. My boss likes women with big breasts, Hao Feng said. Pfft. A mouthful of saliva flew onto Hao Feng's face. Li and I turned around and left. Hao Feng looked back at the window on the second floor. Charlotte bit the bullet and gave Hao Feng a thumbs up. Hao Feng shook his head. Charlotte changed his hand gesture and showed it the shape of a spirit oar. Hao Feng jumped up and down on the ground. Charlotte lay on Policye's bed. Without the shackles of love, he felt really relaxed. But how long could he maintain this single state? Who knew? Chapter 1456. Crackle. A bolt of lightning flashed across the bridge of the Huaxia ship, illuminating the dark night sky and the rolling waves of the sea below. The endless sea. On the map of the Hope Star drawn by humans, this was the name of the sea, which was 500 times the surface area of the Earth. This was the first time Charlotte had seen the sea of the Hope Star. Its vastness and its terrible weather made him feel moved. The new location of the Heavenly Jewel Academy was on an island in the endless sea. This was the result that Kong Tu Nana had found after finding a contact. This result surprised Charlotte. This was a place that even the Blue Moon people were not willing to come to, and the Heavenly Jewel Academy had actually chosen such a harsh environment. However, looking at the problem from the perspective of confidentiality and safety, it was a very smart move. Kong Tu Nana stood next to the window and looked at the huge waves below. She sighed and said, I had a dream when I was young. I wanted to sail a sailboat across the endless sea and reach the Great Maha Desert on the other side. I wanted to roast a saloon there. Great Maha Desert? Where did that name come from? Charlotte knew the name of the desert, but he did not know its origin. Chinese was the main language of the human world, and if it was the Han people who named it, it would not have such a name. Great Maha is the name of an explorer. He was also the first person in human history to sail across the endless sea. He discovered the desert, and later generations named it after him, Kong Tu Nana said. What is a salon? Charlotte was very curious about everything in the desert. A type of mollusk that lives in the Great Maha Desert. They have no feet and they look like snakes, but they are very large and poisonous. They have almost no natural enemies in the Great Maha Desert, so they can be considered the masters of that uninhabited land, Kong Tu Nana said. Charlotte smiled. Sailing a sailboat across an almost impossible sea, and roasting such a beast in the desert. Your childhood dream is really strange. But only a girl with such a dream can become the commander-in-chief of the resistance. Kong Tu Nana smiled bitterly. I don't want to be the commander-in-chief of the resistance. What I want to do most is to explore. If we can get rid of the Blue Moon people one day, I will resign and become an explorer. If there's one. Haha, forget it. If I can't even fulfill my first wish, what's the point of talking about personal problems? Charlotte said, Don't give up your faith. We will definitely succeed. Nana glanced at Charlotte. There was something indecipherable in her eyes. But it was only a glance before she shifted her gaze and looked at the tumbling sea. A huge fish suddenly emerged from the surface of the sea, pushing aside the mountain-like waves before diving back into the water. Even Charlotte was shocked by it. The biggest fish he had ever seen, a whale, was only a small fish in front of it. At this time, Sam, who was also on the bridge, suddenly said, "The Queen of Rest once told us that there is an existence more powerful than her in this sea." Charlotte's brain finished deciphering the brainwaves almost instantly. He was shocked again. He sent a message to Shan Pu. A being more powerful than the Queen of Rest? What is it? Shan Pu shook his head. It didn't say that. It just warned us not to come here. It said it's dangerous. Shan Pu's words filled Charlotte's imagination with endless imagination. An existence more powerful than the Queen of Rest, what would it be? Living in the sea, could it be a fish? Or was it a tree growing in the sea? What did it say? Nana asked curiously. She was still afraid of Shan Pu. But she had already learned its identity from Charlotte. It was the leader of the 4 beasts in the Forest of Rest, the Rock Spirit. Charlotte said, "Shan Pu told me to tell you that it's best to give up your dream. It said that there are creatures more powerful than her in this sea, and sailing in this sea is undoubtedly suicide." Nana smiled at Shan Pu. "Thank you, but everyone will die one day. Dying while pursuing your dream is not necessarily a bad ending." Shan Pu said to Charlotte, "What is this stupid woman talking about?" Charlotte smiled bitterly. "She said your hairstyle is very handsome." Shan Pu used his claws to rub the hair on his head. "She has good taste." Charlotte was speechless. Lan Ji walked into the bridge. "Dinner is ready. Let's eat." "Oh, I see," Charlotte responded. Nana said, "So early? I'm not even hungry yet." Lan Ji's mouth slightly curled. "I didn't prepare dinner for you. You can cook whatever you want. I only prepared dinner for my fiancé." "I'm sorry." "You." Nana's face was full of surprise. Charlotte smiled bitterly. "It's complicated. I'll tell you later when I have the chance." Lan Ji said, "Are you still eating? Come with me. It won't taste good when it's cold." Coming. Xia Lei followed him and walked over. Lan Ji brought Charlotte to her cabin and said, "Turn around. How can I squeeze when you look at me?" Charlotte was slightly stunned. "I thought you were done." "So it's freshly squeezed," Lan Ji said. Charlotte was speechless. Lan Ji opened the zipper and glared at Charlotte. Charlotte turned around as well. Only then did she grab a plump one and start milking it into Charlotte's bottle. The Blue Princess Akima's blue milk dripped into the bottle bit by bit. There was also the sound of milking and the sound coming from Lan Ji's small mouth. Charlotte could not control his brain and fantasize about messy things. Lan Ji quickly finished a bottle and handed it to Charlotte over his shoulder. "Drink it quickly. There's still another bottle after this one." "Thank you." Charlotte took the bottle and poured it into his mouth. As soon as the Blue Princess Akima's blue milk entered his body, the branding power instantly swarmed over, and the cosmic brand lurking in his soul emerged again. His body quickly entered a godlike transcendent state. He would experience this every time he drank Lan Ji's milk, so he was already used to it. After drinking the bottle of milk, his branding power energy field suddenly captured an energy resonance. It was about 10 meters away from him. Even though he could not see through the hull of the ship, he still knew what was happening. It was the resonance of the crystal skeletal hand stored in the equipment bag, and it was very strong. The crystal skeletal hand was an extremely powerful and magical existence. Under normal circumstances, the power of his imprint would be restricted after leaving the underground city of the border wasteland. However, in this spaceship, the crystal skeletal hand released an energy field to protect itself. In this energy field, His branding power was not suppressed by the blue moon. In other words, even if he left this spaceship, as long as he had the crystal skeletal hand, he could still use the branding power. The crystal skeletal hand's resonance gave Charlotte an idea. The crystal skeletal hand's resonance is so strong this time. Could it be that my branding power has become stronger again? If that's the case, I wonder if I can establish a connection with it while drinking milk and use the powerful power it contains? This thought lingered in his mind even after Lan Ji handed him the second bottle of milk. He couldn't get rid of it. Only by drinking Archime's perfect princess blue milk would he become stronger. Only then would he be able to establish a connection with the crystal hand bone and use the great power contained in the crystal hand bone. To Xia Lei, this was always a disadvantage, because when facing a strong enemy, he could not always have Lan Ji's milk to drink, right? After drinking the second bottle of milk, his extraordinary state became even stronger. Xia Lei showed symptoms of being drunk on milk again. Of course, he was not really drunk, but the feeling that his soul was about to fly out of his body was exceptionally strong. He needed to lie down and digest the extraordinary evolutionary energy contained in the blue milk of the perfect princess of Archimes. I want to go back and lie down for a while, said Charlotte. Lan Ji said, just lie here for a while. I'll help you to the bed. Charlotte wanted to decline, but she had just squeezed 2 bottles of milk for him. If he didn't even want to lie on her bed, it would be a bit unreasonable. Lan Ji helped Charlotte to her bed and helped Charlotte take off his shoes. Charlotte was very embarrassed and said, I can do it myself. Lan Ji helped Charlotte take off his shoes and scolded him. Why didn't you feel embarrassed when I squeezed you some milk? Now that I'm helping you take off your shoes, you're embarrassed. Xia Lei shut his mouth. He had been fed by others. Lan Ji took off Charlotte's shoes, turned around and walked out. She said in a low voice, drinking milk in a bottle will make you drunk. If you drink it yourself, won't you be drunk to death? You're such a good-for-nothing. Several black beads of sweat suddenly appeared on Charlotte's forehead. After Lan Ji left, Charlotte closed his eyes and ran the power of the imprint to capture every subtle change in his body. Did the evolution of his body improve? Did the power of the imprint improve? He really wanted to know the answer, but whether it was the evolution of his body or the power of the imprint, there was no measurable value or standard. All he could get was a feeling of improvement and becoming stronger. This time, the feeling was stronger than before. Time passed little by little, and after an unknown amount of time, Charlotte walked out of the symptoms of milk drunk, and his extraordinary state also disappeared. Under normal circumstances, he would return to his usual state. But this time, it was not normal, because he clearly felt that although the emerging universe imprint had become dim, it did not disappear. This discovery made Charlotte stunned on the spot. What did this mean? Had he evolved to some kind of critical point? If the universe imprint existed in the body like an organ and represented a spiritual boundary point, then what would it be like to go over this critical point? Charlotte's heart was filled with endless imagination. Boss. A voice suddenly came from outside the cabin door. We're here, quickly open it and take a look. Chapter 1457. A small island appeared outside the window of the Huaxia spaceship. It was a very small island with a barren extinct volcano. The primitive forest that grew around the volcano was the entirety of this small island. Its area was less than 1 square kilometer. Charlotte did not see any buildings on the island, let alone a college. Just as Charlotte was about to use his X-ray vision to scan the island, Nana said, Mr. Xia, I just compared it with the navigation map. It should be here. Charlotte said, then let's go down and take a look. Nana said, only the 2 of us can go down. Your people have to leave for now. The contact person said very clearly that I can only bring 1 person in. Okay. Charlotte turned around and said, Aunt King, Drive the spaceship to the nearby island and wait for my signal there to pick me up. Yes, Captain. The Ant King immediately carried out Charlotte's orders and began to search the nearest island. Lon Ji walked over, looking unhappy. Can't I go in too? Contanana said. Of course, no non-human has ever entered that place until now. She emphasized the word, non-human, as if to remind Lon Ji of something. Lon Ji snorted coldly. If you don't want to go, then don't go. She moved closer to Charlotte and her towering breasts were almost pressed against Charlotte's chest. She reached out to adjust the collar of Charlotte's jacket and deliberately said in a very gentle voice, My man, I'll wait for you on the spaceship. You're not very smart. You gave away my dowry worth hundreds of millions, so you have to be careful. Don't be cheated by other women. Charlotte was speechless. Lon Ji's words were obviously meant for Contanana. Contanana frowned. Mr. Xia, we should leave. Charlotte nodded. Okay. Lon Ji grabbed Charlotte's arm. We'll leave later. Charlotte looked at Lon Ji. Is there anything else? Lon Ji said, I'll prepare something delicious for you to eat on the road. Charlotte nodded again with a smile on his face. And thank you. He knew very well what kind of delicious food Lanji was going to prepare for him, and he could never refuse that kind of delicious food. The magic of Princess Artemis, blue milk, had long been manifested. His universal imprint had not disappeared until now, and it was working like an organ. It guided the power of the brand through his body, just like how the heart guided the circulation of blood. The universe imprint had truly appeared. Although he had not experienced a battle, he was confident that his strength would definitely soar. If he were to fight Lon Tan again now, he wouldn't dodge anymore. He would swing his fists and beat him up. Under such circumstances, how could he refuse Lanji's milk? However, Contanana obviously did not know this secret. She frowned. Mr. Xia, is there nothing to eat in the Heavenly Jewel Academy? There is no need to prepare any food. I believe that you will be able to eat delicious food in the Heavenly Jewel Academy that you can't find anywhere else. Charlotte smiled. Let Lon Ji prepare something for me. I like to eat what she prepares for me. Lon Ji looked at Contanana with a contemptuous look. Contanana snorted softly, avoiding Lon Ji's provocative look. If it was a battle just now, then Lon Ji was obviously the winner. After a quarter of an hour, Charlotte brought the 2 bottles of milk that Lon Ji had squeezed for him to the island. The place where they landed was the peak of the extinct volcano in the center of the island. The Huaxia put down Charlotte and Contanana, then turned and left. Charlotte watched the Huaxia leave. In his field of vision, there was a violent storm, lightning, and thunder. The ancient ship disappeared from sight in the blink of an eye. Contanana squatted behind a rock to hide from the wind and rain, but she was still freezing, shivering in the cold. Charlotte took off his coat, draping it over Contanana's body. Once again, the blue tank battle armor was revealed. It was tight, like another layer of skin. If you give me the coat, what are you going to do? Contanana wanted to return the coat to Charlotte. Charlotte pressed the coat on her. You can put it on, I'm not cold. He then tried to divert Contanana's attention. Commander Kongtu, what do you think we should do if no one comes to pick us up and we are abandoned on this island? Contanana stared at Charlotte. Just the 2 of us? Charlotte nodded. Yes, just the 2 of us. Contanana thought for a moment. Are you hinting at something? Charlotte, a man and woman alone on an uninhabited island, what would happen in the end? It was not difficult to guess. A lonely man, a lonely woman. Since they had nothing better to do, they could only do each other. Therefore, it was normal for Contanana to interpret Charlotte's joke as a hint. Moreover, in her mind, Charlotte was a pervert and a pervert. D***, didn't you say someone would come to pick us up? Contanana began to change the topic. If the contact person gave us the wrong coordinates, we'll be in trouble. Charlotte awakened the ability of his eyes and scanned the forest around the extinct volcano. How did you become the fiancé of that Akimis woman? Kangtu Nana changed the topic. I'm not her fiancé. I needed a safe identity in the Akimis tribe in the Forest of Rest, so I pretended to be her fiancé. I had a deal with her, but I can't reveal the details, Charlotte said as he continued to scan the forest. So that's how it is. Kangtu Nana's lips curled into a smile. Charlotte's gaze shifted to a hillside, and a black shadow suddenly entered his sight. Soon, a few more black figures appeared in different positions. His eyes locked onto one of them, and he instantly completed his scan. The shadow that was moving quickly toward the hilltop was a man about his age. The young man was wearing a strange fiber armor. The fiber seemed to be synthetic, but it also seemed to be natural plant fiber. Not only did he have human firearms, but he also had energy weapons and a sword that was at least a meter long. It had no scabbard, and the blade was covered in mysterious and complicated patterns. It looked like an ancient sword. Xia Lei's gaze then swept over the other black figures. They were all wearing the same equipment: fiber armor, firearms, energy weapons, and cold weapons. The difference was that they had cold weapons. Some were swords, some were sabers, and some were stilettos. At the same time, he noticed a woman. She was petite, and her movement speed was extremely fast. Especially her chest, she gave off a cumbersome feeling. She reminded him of one of his female friends back on Earth, Akiko Tsukino. However, she was not a pure Asian, but a mixed blood of Caucasians and Asians. About 70% of them were Asians. But she looks like she's serious. Kangtu Nana did not notice the warriors surrounding them from the hillside. Now is not the time to talk about that, Charlotte said. I remember you mentioned some branded warriors. Are they the ones guarding the Heavenly Jewel Academy? Yes, every branded warrior is very strong. Kangtu Nana suddenly reacted. Are they here? Charlotte nodded. You will see them soon. Kangtu Nana stood up from behind the boulder that she was hiding from the wind and rain, looking into the distance. However, the light was just too dim, and the wind and rain were raging. She was unable to see anything more than a few dozen meters away, let alone the branded warriors that were surrounding them. Charlotte's gaze was locked on the branded warriors, but very quickly, a strange phenomenon occurred. When the branded warriors were within 100 meters of him, they suddenly disappeared. They were like phantoms that were blown away by the strong wind and drenched by the torrential rain. In Charlotte's mind, he replayed the image of a warrior suddenly disappearing. In his mind, the fiber armor of the warrior had suddenly changed color, becoming a mixture of colors that blended in with the surroundings. The fiber armor of the warrior actually had the ability of a chameleon. The warriors suddenly turned invisible, and with their speed, even Charlotte could not see them. However, in front of him, nothing could become invisible. His universal brand shuddered, and the power of the brand was released in an instant, covering an area of 500 square meters. This process was like mercury spilling onto the ground. In the past, when he released the power of the brand to create an energy field, the movement of the power of the brand did not follow any rules. Every time it was released, there would be different changes, just like how the wind blew the mist away. However, this time, with the existence and effect of the universal brand, the power of the brand was like a star releasing light and heat, appearing in an instant. Moreover, it was in the shape of an omnidirectional half-circle. The invisible warriors did not appear in his line of sight, but they appeared in his mind. The 4 warriors had already advanced to a distance of only 50 meters from him. The oldest man, who looked to be in his 50s, pointed at Charlotte and Kangtu Nana's position, and then quickly made a tactical hand signal to surround them from all sides. The other 2 warriors nodded and quickly spread out. In less than 10 seconds, they appeared in 3 different directions. The 4 warriors quickly pounced toward Charlotte and Kangtu Nana. This time, their speed was several times faster than before. It would not be an exaggeration to describe their speed as wind. Charlotte's brow furrowed slightly, his heart filled with curiosity. What are these fellows trying to do? In truth, when he had discovered the 4 warriors, he had been on guard, but now he did not. The reason was simple. If they were enemies and wanted to attack, they would not have needed to advance to such a distance, they could have opened fire from 100 meters away. In the blink of an eye, the 4 warriors closed in. Charlotte was in a difficult position. He had discovered them long ago, and it would not be difficult for him to subdue them. However, did he really have to do that? Where? Nana still did not discover anything, and she seemed rather agitated. Didn't you say you saw some warriors? Charlotte gave a bitter smile. Since when did I say I saw any warriors? I just wanted to ask you what the branded warriors of the Heavenly Jewel Master Academy are like. I didn't see them? I mean, I looked for a long time and didn't see anything. So you lied to me. Nana squatted down unhappily, continuing to hide behind the boulder to avoid the wind and rain. At the same time, she sneered at the man beside her. You have a bad habit of lying. Charlotte just smiled and did not explain. He had only done this because he wanted to hide his strength. A ray of light suddenly shot out from the howling wind and rain. Chapter 1458. It was a flying dagger. Even as it was flying through the air, Charlotte's gaze had locked onto it, and he did not dodge. Ding. A crisp sound rang out, and sparks flew from the collision of metal and rock. The flying dagger brushed past Charlotte's face, stabbing into the rock behind him. This was the reason why he did not dodge. As soon as his gaze locked onto the flying dagger, his brain had already calculated its trajectory. This was just a scare attack, not a real attack. The flying dagger fell from the rock, landing at Nana's feet. She was startled, and instinctively stood up, pulling out a handgun from her waist. 4 warriors suddenly appeared, guns in hand, standing about 10 meters away from Charlotte and Nana. Put down your weapons! The older warrior shouted. Nana started slightly, putting down the handgun in her hand. She said loudly, I am the Commander-in-Chief of the Resistance, Nana. I have permission to visit, do not fire. The only female amongst the 4 took off her helmet, revealing a beautiful face with a smile. Big sis Nana, it's been 2 years since we last met, you seem to have lost weight. Nana finally saw the female warrior's face clearly. She laughed out loud and strode over to hug the female warrior. Suya, I've missed you so much. I never expected you to pass the test and become a branded warrior. I'm so happy for you. Congratulations, Suya. With such an outstanding big sis like you, how could I not work hard? The woman called Suya said with a smile. However, the corner of her eyes was looking at Charlotte. Everyone loved beauty, and if a man was good-looking, it was normal for a stranger to look at him. These 4 warriors were indeed the branded warriors of the Heavenly Jewel Master Academy. The other 3 branded warriors also took off the helmets of their fiber armor. The older branded warrior had a squarish face and thick eyebrows, with an upright and plain-spoken air about him. The other 2 were in their 20s, one with dark yellow skin and a muscular build. The other was a Caucasian with blonde hair and blue eyes. He was tall but gave off a very agile feeling. Sister Nana, let me introduce you. Shuya pointed at the older branded warrior and said, This is our captain, Huang Kai. Huang Kai gave Nana a slight nod. Shuya pointed at the dark-skinned youth and said, Ma Kuan. She then pointed at the Caucasian youth and said, Lampard. Ma Kuan and Lampadelvi also nodded at Nana. Nana said politely, Hello? It's time for you to introduce us. This is? Shuya's gaze officially shifted to Charlotte. Charlotte. Nana said, He's my friend. I have already obtained permission to bring him to the Heavenly Jewel Master Academy. She smiled. I wonder if any of you have heard of him? Of course we have. Shuya said, we received intelligence that he beheaded Royce, the army commander of the Black Market Alliance's Armored Legion, in the underground city at the border. He also killed Blackbeard in your office. Am I right? Kongtu Nana smiled and said, you are right, every word is correct. This friend of mine is very powerful. However, the information you have is not complete. Let me tell you, Before Kongtu Nana could finish, the dark-skinned Ma Kuan interrupted her. Commander Kongtu, aren't you exaggerating your friend a little too much? Our information might not be complete, but just now I tested your friend's skills. I threw out a flying dagger, but he did not react at all. We have already gotten so close, and he did not even notice. No matter how powerful he is, he can't be that powerful, right? Kongtu Nana said, Friend, I do not need to lie about such matters. This friend of mine is extremely important to the fate of our tribe, that is why I brought him here. He's extremely important to the fate of our tribe? The white youth, Lampard Delway, laughed. That is even more exaggerated. Commander Kongtu, we respect women like you, but if you keep bragging about your friend, that is not good. You can't treat us like fools, right? Kongtu Nana shrugged, unable to hide her gloomy mood. She had never thought of bragging about Charlotte, but Ma Kuan and Lampard Delway, the two branded warriors, kept saying that she was bragging about Charlotte, which made her feel very awkward. This kind of thing did not seem to have any reason, but it was not strange at all. Kongtu Nana praised Charlotte, and Shuya seemed to have a good impression of Charlotte. For Ma Kuan and Lampard Delvey, who were equally outstanding, this was a stimulus. They couldn't avoid the nature of men. They couldn't help but want to show off in front of beautiful women. They wanted to be the one who attracted the opposite sex the most. A woman's good looks would attract attention, but a man's good looks would sometimes be a problem. The senior Huang Kai did not speak, just observing Charlotte quietly. Charlotte did not speak as well, as if what was happening had nothing to do with him. The atmosphere on the crater became a little awkward. How about this? Ma Kuan said. The new rule for entering the Heavenly Jewel Academy is not fixed. The visitor has to show his power first. Kongtu Nana was clearly on his fixed list, but Charlotte was not. He wanted to visit the Heavenly Jewel Academy, and he had to show his power. Mr. Xia? Ma Kuan smiled and said, Why don't we play a little? If you can beat me, I'll bring you into the Heavenly Jewel Academy. Charlotte finally spoke, a faint smile on his face. This bro Ma, I did not know that there was such a rule for visiting the Heavenly Jewel Academy. You are all branded warriors, the best of the best. I'm sure there aren't many who can beat you, right? If you can't, then you can't even enter the Heavenly Jewel Academy. Ma Kuan gave a cold humph. Are you afraid? Charlotte did not get angry at all. I'm not afraid, I'm just being reasonable. Lampard Delvey said. Mr. Xia, different people have different standards for visiting the Heavenly Jewel Academy. If you are a scientist, you don't have to beat anyone to get in. However, Commander Kongtu said that you are the strongest warrior, so your standards will definitely be different. Huang Kai finally spoke. Mr. Xia, we are not trying to make things difficult for you. We know Commander Kongtu, she led the resistance against the Blue Moon Empire, and she is a woman worthy of our respect. However, she might have been tricked by some pretense, and brought some people who do not have the qualifications to enter the Heavenly Jewel Academy. Do you understand what I mean? Charlotte spread his hands. All right, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. I am an outsider, and I will follow your rules. However, how do I win against this bro Ma? Don't call me bro Ma, we are not close. Ma Kuan stood in front of Charlotte. The standards are simple, if you can defeat me, you will have one. However, I hope that you will be careful about what is about to happen, because if you fail, the consequences will be severe. Charlotte furrowed his brow slightly. How severe? Ma Kuan said. The Heavenly Jewel Academy is the highest secret of the human race. Once we confirm that you do not have the qualifications to enter, and you know our current location, in order to prevent the secret from being leaked, we will. He paused before continuing. Kill you. Ah. Kangtu Nana was instantly nervous. How can you do that? Do you know how much he has helped our resistance? Without him, we would have been wiped out by the armored troops of the Black Market Alliance. Huang Kai said, Commander Kangtu, you have your reasons and we have our rules. I hope that you will not break them. Otherwise, you will lose the right to visit the Heavenly Jewel Academy. You. Kangtu Nana was instantly exasperated. Shuya said, Sister Nana, what are you worried about? If what you said is true, even if this Mr. Xia is unable to defeat Ma Kuan, he will not lose, and even a draw will be considered a pass. Kangtu Nana was about to say something, but Charlotte interrupted her. Commander Kangtu, that's enough. This is their territory and we have to follow their rules. And don't worry about me. I'm not worried about you, Kangtu Nana said. She was really not worried about Charlotte at all, she was just angry at the branded warrior's actions. Perhaps it really was a new rule, but she did not know about it. But she was very sure that this kind of method made people very uncomfortable. Charlotte gave a bitter smile before stretching his body. I don't have time to watch you act. Ma Kuan suddenly pounced forward, a fist flying towards Charlotte's face. His fist carried a scorching hot aura, as if it was a red-hot iron. Charlotte could clearly sense the energy emanating from Ma Kuan's body, and it was actually very similar to his own branded power, and it was very strong. The branded warriors, the warriors who guarded humanity's last sacred land, could not possibly be a weakling. Charlotte's feet touched the ground, as if his body was weightless. In an instant, he floated a few meters back, dodging Ma Kuan's fist. You are quite agile. Ma Kuan pounced forward again. Before he reached Ma Kuan, he suddenly leapt into the air, both legs kicking continuously. The speed of his kicks was extremely fast, and even in the midst of the violent storm, one could feel the heat from his legs, as well as the residual afterimages in the air. Charlotte retreated again. Coward! How long can you dodge? Ma Kuan's face was full of disdain, his fists and legs dancing, as if a net was covering Charlotte. Charlotte continued to dodge. The current battle gave people the impression that Ma Kuan was strong, and Charlotte was agile, but he was not Ma Kuan's match. Charlotte did not dare to fight Ma Kuan head-on, as if that happened, this battle would be over, and the loser would be Charlotte. However, the actual situation was not like that, as Charlotte felt something familiar from Ma Kuan's body, E-energy. E-energy, he was very familiar with this energy, and he understood its nature. It was the evolutionary path that Sitab and Kasha Ruiz had taken, and he had walked on that path before. Later on, he started the evolutionary path of drinking milk, and slowly corrected it. As such, how could he not be familiar with this energy? What surprised him was that, on the way to the desolate border city, he had saved the biological scientist of the Heavenly Jewel Academy, Han Yifei, and from him, he had found out some information related to E, which was that E had not been researched yet. The professor who researched E was already dead, and he had even stolen the experiment records from Blackbeard's safe and passed them to the Resistance Army and Han Yifei. So, why would Ma Kuan have energy on him? This was strange. How long are you going to hide? Coward! Ma Kuan scolded. Charlotte suddenly stopped dodging. Chapter 1459. Lie down. Ma Kuan, who had finally found an opportunity to attack, immediately rushed forward. After taking 2 steps, he stomped heavily on the ground, and his whole body was like a spear that had been thrown out, stabbing towards Charlotte. His spearhead was his right fist. This punch, the heat emitted from his fist was even more intense, as though it could evaporate the rainwater that had fallen on his fist. How could he be so ruthless? Charlotte's eyebrows twitched slightly. This time, he did not dodge, but instead sent his fist forward. Suya, Lampa and Huang Kai revealed expressions of shock. In the eyes of the three branded warriors, Charlotte's actions were undoubtedly extremely stupid. They seemed to have predicted the result, which was that Charlotte's hand and arm would break, and then his whole body would fly at least 20 to 30 meters away, unable to get up. Boom! The shock wave from the collision of energy shot out from between their fists, and then shot out in all directions. Gotcha! Almost at the moment when the two fists collided, the sound of bones breaking could be heard from between their fists, and that sound made one's hair stand on end. Someone flew up and flew 20 to 30 meters away. He landed heavily on the ground, unable to get up. The predictions of the three branded warriors had come true, and it was very accurate. But there was one thing wrong, and that was that the person who had broken his hand and flew 20 to 30 meters away, unable to get up again, was not Charlotte, but Ma Kuan. Ma Kuan spat out a mouthful of blood. The three branded warriors were dumbfounded. The battle had ended just like that, and the dust had settled, but they were unwilling to believe that it was real. Charlotte said calmly, "Did I pass the test?" No one spoke to him. Kong Tu Nana said, "I've said it before, I'm not worried about him at all. Do you understand now? Sometimes I think he's a monster." Suya then regained her senses. He? Who exactly is he? Kong Tu Nana smiled bitterly. "I want to know the answer too, but you don't have to worry. He's not a bad person, and he's definitely not our enemy." Huang Kai and Lampard Delvey went to check on Ma Kuan's condition. Ma Kuan was indeed strong. His finger bones were shattered, and the bones in his forearm were broken, but he did not even make a sound. He didn't even let Lampard help him up and got up on his own. He stared straight at Charlotte, his eyes filled with unwillingness and confusion. Until now, he still did not understand why he had been defeated so casually and so miserably. Charlotte walked over with an apologetic smile on his face. "I'm sorry, Brother Ma. I used too much force. Are your injuries all right?" Ma Kuan stared at Charlotte. His mouth seemed to be stuffed with something and he couldn't say a word. His entire right arm was almost crippled, and this guy actually asked if he was okay. If this was fine, then what would be considered fine? "Did I pass the test?" Charlotte asked again, this time looking at Huang Kai. "I lost." Ma Kuan finally said this sentence, but it was only this one sentence. "Mr. Xia, you have passed the test." Huang Kai said, "Follow me." "Thank you, please lead the way," Charlotte said, before following the four branded warriors down the hill. Kong Tu Nana and Suya were at the back of the group, purposely slowing down their pace. The two of them were at the back of the group, whispering to each other. He actually defeated Ma Kuan with just one punch. I don't dare to imagine it. I feel that his power is even stronger than our military officer Tang Xing. Suya said. Kong Tu Nana lowered her voice. "You didn't see him on the battlefield, that's what I call scary. Sister Nana, who is he to you? You actually dared to be his guarantor. If there's a problem with his identity or his motives, you will be implicated. You know the Heavenly Jewel Academy's determination and methods to deal with traitors. I don't know why, but I'm worried for you." Suya's voice was soft. However, Kong Tu Nana did not seem to care. "I know what you want to say, but I don't have that kind of relationship with him that you think I have. I only know that it is extremely important to the fate of our entire human race, and he should be here. I am willing to take any risk for him." "Really, there's no relationship at all?" "If you insist on a relationship, and comrades, friends. We are very good friends," Kong Tu Nana said. The two women's conversation entered Charlotte's ears without missing a single word, and Charlotte felt a sense of trouble in his heart. He had come here to find that clue, and in order to achieve that goal, he might have to use some extreme method. However, if his actions brought Kongtu Nana any trouble, it would not only be a lie to her, but also a form of harm. The three male branded warriors walked at the front of the group, with Ma Kuan hugging his right arm. His expression was one of pain, but he did not make a sound. Ma Kuan and his right arm once again brought Charlotte's thoughts back to the problem. Isn't the AE energy not yet developed? This Ma Kuan actually has the AE energy, and the other three also have it. What is going on? Could it be that Han Yifei is lying to me? Impossible, I've captured his thoughts before, and he did not lie to me. If he did not lie to me, then I'm afraid he has been lied to. To even lie to his own people, what kind of place is this Heavenly Jewel Master Academy? Charlotte's mind was filled with questions, one after another. Amidst the questions, Charlotte's universal brand shuddered slightly. The power of the brand swept out like quicksilver, silent and undetectable. Everything within a 500-meter radius was under his absolute control. Everyone's brain waves were quickly captured, and a lot of information appeared in Charlotte's mind. How could that fellow defeat me with a single punch? How did he do it? Who is he? I can't accept this, I can't accept this. If I have the chance, I will definitely regain the glory that I lost today. I will defeat him. I will definitely defeat him. This was Ma Kuan's brain activity. Although on the surface he did not show anything, losing openly, but in his heart, it was clear that he did not think that way. This Ma Kuan was actually a two-faced person. Luckily I did not take action just now. Ma Kuan's skills are about the same as mine. If it was me who took action just now, I'm afraid I would end up the same way as him. Ma Kuan wanted to show off in front of Suya, but this time he lost more than he gained. Ha ha! This was Lampard Delvy's brain activity. This fellow was gloating. Is this Charlotte really as powerful as the legends say? What kind of power does he have in his body? When I return, I will definitely talk to Dean Roland and see what he has to say. He definitely knows something. This little brat is just too strange, I have to keep a close eye on him. This was Huang Hai's brain activity. His status was different and his thoughts were different as well. The brain waves captured from behind and behind were completely different. This Charlotte is quite good-looking. What kind of leather armor is he wearing? It's like his skin. When I return, I will ask him where he bought it. If the price is right, I will buy one too. Yes, Sister Na said that she was just a normal friend with him, but I don't believe her. If he was just a normal friend, would Sister Na take on such a huge risk for him and be his guarantor? This was Su Ya's brain activity. Hopefully there will be no accidents this time, or else I will be in deep trouble. This was Kong Tu Nana's brain activity. Her heart was filled with worry. Everyone was thinking about different things, but there was one thing in common, and that was that these people's thoughts were all related to him. After grasping these people's thoughts, Charlotte had some understanding of these four branded warriors. The Caucasian youth, Lampard Delvey, was a little scheming, but not dangerous. Ma Kuan was narrow-minded, liked to show off, and would seek revenge for the smallest grievance. He was a two-faced person. Suya was a simple and pure girl, and she was not dangerous. Amongst the four branded warriors, the most dangerous person was not Ma Kuan, but Huang Kai. Huang Kai was a scheming person, and he had to be careful of him. Walking down the hill, Huang Kai stopped in front of a huge boulder. Before Huang Kai could do anything, Charlotte had already discovered the truth. It was not a real boulder, but a man-made boulder with a 90% degree of realism. If not for the fact that his eyes were different from ordinary people, he might not even know that it was a man-made boulder when he passed by. When Huang Kai began to operate, Xia Lei had the urge to look behind the rock, but he suppressed this urge in the blink of an eye. The Heavenly Jewel Academy was not an ordinary place, and the branded warriors guarding this place had energy, and there was a high risk of being discovered if he used his energy here. The huge boulder moved aside, revealing a tunnel. It was not a man-made tunnel, but a natural volcanic karst cave. The karst cave was winding, and there were many forks along the way, giving the impression that it was a natural maze. In the karst cave and the forks, Charlotte saw many surveillance cameras, and there were no blind spots. The place was heavily guarded. Under Huang Kai's lead, Charlotte walked out of the complicated cave maze, and arrived at the center of the mountain. In that instant, his field of vision widened, and a huge oval-shaped karst cave appeared in his vision. The oval-shaped karst cave was shaped like a beehive, with two small ends and a big middle. The surrounding walls were filled with caves of various sizes, and lights shone through the caves. Some were classrooms, some were laboratories, some were offices, and some were libraries. The first impression that this place gave him was that it was a higher education institute. Every year, the Heavenly Jewel Academy would change locations, and would never stay in the same place for more than a year. As such, they would not build permanent buildings. From this angle, it was not strange that the Heavenly Jewel Academy would settle down in this dormant volcano. This is the Heavenly Jewel Academy, humanity's last hope. Huang Kai introduced to Charlotte. Charlotte smiled, pretending to be polite as he said, "What a magnificent sight! In my heart, the Heavenly Jewel Academy is like a holy land, and I have long wanted to come here to take a look, but I have never had the chance. Suya, bring Commander Kong Tu and Mr. Xia to rest first. I will go talk to the director and see if he has any arrangements." Huang Kai did not want to speak much with Charlotte, and with just a few words, he threw Charlotte to Suya. "All right," Suya replied, before turning to Charlotte and Kong Tu Nana. "Sister Nana, Mr. Xia, please follow me. I will bring you to a place to rest, and you can have a hot bath and some food." Charlotte smiled at Suya. "Thank you." Chapter 1460. After Suya settled Kong Tu Nana in a karst cave room, she brought Charlotte to another karst cave room. The karst cave was very small, and there was a fork that led to an unknown place. There were beds, tables, and chairs in the karst cave, as well as a place for people to take a bath and relieve themselves. These furniture gave the karst cave a little room, otherwise, Charlotte would feel that he was a cave-dwelling ape. "Mr. Xia, please rest here for a while," Suya said. Charlotte smiled at him. "Thank you, Miss Suya." "You're welcome." Suya also smiled at Charlotte, and two small and cute dimples appeared on her pretty face. These two dimples made her not look like a powerful branded warrior, but just a beautiful and ordinary woman. When he first saw her face, Charlotte thought of Akiko Tsukino. But that seemed to be only because of her breast. Her face, her temperament, and her personality were not the slightest bit similar to Akiko Tsukino. "Mr. Xia, do you always look at women like this?" Suya felt a little unnatural under Charlotte's gaze. The corners of her mouth curled up slightly, looking a little unhappy. Only then did Charlotte move his gaze away from her chest. He smiled awkwardly, hee. "Well, where does this fork lead to?" Suya said, "It can lead to many places. Most of the forks here are interconnected. Don't walk into these forks. You're not familiar with the environment here, and you'll get lost. Getting lost in these forks is a very dangerous thing. Not long ago, a person died in there. When we found him, his body was already highly decomposed." "I'm just asking casually. I'm not that curious," Charlotte said. "All right, you rest. I'll go talk to Sister Nana for a while." Suya turned around and left. Out of courtesy, Charlotte sent Suya out of the entrance of the karst cave where he was temporarily staying. After Suya left, he returned to the karst cave. He did not have the ability to awaken his eyes, and only used his normal vision to observe the karst cave. But even with normal vision, His vision was not comparable to that of an ordinary person, not to mention that he had extremely rich experience in espionage. As a result, he quickly found 2 mini surveillance cameras hidden at the top of the karst cave. The 2 surveillance cameras happened to cover the entire space of the karst cave, with almost no blind spots. Then he found a surveillance camera hidden in the rock wall in the bathroom. When he found the surveillance camera, he hesitated for a moment before he opened the zipper and pulled out Xiao Lei to pee in a simple squatting toilet. Knowing that someone was watching him, he still did it. The reason was simple: if it was inconvenient, why did he go into the toilet? The scene of Xiao Lei peeing appeared in a 3D projection projected by a monitoring terminal. A part of his buttocks, as well as Xiao Lei's body parts, were all displayed in the virtual control. It was a 360-degree view of the entire scene. Huang Kai frowned. He thought Xiao Lei was inspecting the toilet, but when he thought about how Xiao Lei took out that thing to pee, he was obviously agitated. But the next second after they looked away, the corner of their eyes returned to the screen of the surveillance terminal. But in the next second, the 2 female staff members looked back at the screen of the monitoring terminal from the corner of their eyes. But the next second after they looked away, the 2 female staff members' eyes returned to the screen of the surveillance terminal. Xiao Lei's thing was probably the most perfect thing they had ever seen. It was as white as jade and looked very delicious. What was wrong with Charlotte's thing? As the opposite sex, it was probably the most perfect thing they had ever seen. It was as white as jade and looked very delicious. As the opposite sex, was it wrong for them to look at such a thing? It was a mistake not to look at it. In the 3D projection, Charlotte slowly finished peeing, then turned around and walked out of the bathroom. He lay on the bed and closed his eyes to sleep. He fell asleep as soon as he said he would, and there was no more movement. But even so, Huang Kai still observed for at least 2 minutes before he decided to give up. He said, "Continue to monitor him, and report to me immediately if he does anything unusual." A female staff member said, "Okay, please rest assured, Captain Huang. We will definitely monitor him around the clock and report to you at any time." Huang Kai nodded and then left the surveillance center. A few minutes later, he came to the bottom of the huge cave. There was a huge rock in front of him, but it was also man-made rock. He stayed under the rock for more than 10 seconds and then said, "Huang Kai, password 179564. A blue beam of light fell from the top of his head and finished scanning Huang Kai in the blink of an eye. Then the huge rock suddenly opened, and a metal passage appeared behind the rock. Huang Kai came to the end of the passage. At the end of the passage was a thick round alloy door with a complicated structure. Huang Kai was scanned again, and after confirming his identity, he opened it. The round alloy door opened and a strange space appeared. Charlotte really fell asleep. He cleared all the thoughts in his mind and completely relaxed the nerves and muscles of his body, letting his body get a complete rest. This was not a deep sleep, but the most thorough rest and relaxation. In this state, his body could correct the mistakes caused by evolution and go in the right direction. This was very important. The most fundamental reason why people got sick, aged, and died was that free radicals and mistakes were produced in the process of cell division, and these free radicals and mistakes were the culprits of human illness, aging, and death. Women began to age at the age of 21, and men began to age at the age of 24. This was caused by the genes of the human species, and no one could avoid it. Although Charlotte had evolved ahead of time, he could not avoid it, because he was also human. Ordinary people could not change their fate of aging and death from the age of 20, but he could. The power of the brand in his body, as well as the power of the universal brand, was currently correcting the mistakes in his body, clearing free radicals, nourishing his cells, and maintaining them in a near-perfect state. After an unknown amount of time, footsteps came from outside the cave. It was Suya and Kongtu Nana's footstep. Charlotte recognized them when he heard them. The two women entered his cave. He closed his eyes and continued to pretend to sleep. Mr. Xia. Suya's voice. Can we come in? Charlotte was a little speechless. They had already come in, and yet they still said such things. He opened his eyes and yawned, looking drowsy. Who is it? It's me, Suya, and Sister Nana. Suya walked out from the corner. Leader Huang asked me to bring you to see the principal. Kongtu Nana also walked out. Wake up, sleepyhead. The first time I came to the Heavenly Jewel Academy, I was so excited that I couldn't sleep for 2 days. You actually managed to sleep the first time, you're really something. Charlotte got off the bed, putting on his shoes and walking towards the two women. As he walked, he said with a smile, I'm really sorry, I was just too tired. Besides, there's nothing special about this place, I feel like it's just an ordinary school, so I can't get excited. Kongtu Nana said, only people like you would feel that way. Alright, you can talk when you get back. Now, I'll bring you to see the principal. Suya said, her tone a little joking. Charlotte followed Suya out of the cave, following a path up the cliff. The path under their feet could definitely be called the Heavenly Road. It was carved out of the cliff, and there was not even a guardrail. The higher they went, the more it hung in the air. By the time they reached the top of the honeycomb, it was almost suspended in the air. Even Charlotte felt guilty walking on such a path, let alone Kongtu Nana. She was obviously very nervous, and although she tried to hide it, Charlotte could still see that her feet were trembling. Charlotte reached out a hand. Hold my hand. Kongtu Nana hesitated for a moment, but finally grabbed Charlotte's hand. Suya, who was walking in front, looked back and said with a smile, You still say there's nothing between you two? Sister Nana, how long do you plan to hide it from me? Charlotte just smiled and did not explain. Kongtu Nana blushed and let go of Charlotte's hand. They continued walking, and soon they reached the top of the honeycomb. At the end of the Heavenly Road was a wooden door. It looked very ordinary, and there was no device that required a password or a scan. Suya stood in front of the door and knocked. In a very polite tone, she said, Principal Roland, Commander Kongtu and Mr. Xia are here. There was no sound from behind the door. Suya said again, Principal Roland, Commander Kongtu and Mr. Xia are here. There was still no response from behind the door. At this moment, Charlotte's ears suddenly caught a very special sound, which sounded like the sound of an electric motor starting up. His heart thumping, he raised his head and looked around. After confirming that there were no surveillance cameras, he suddenly awakened the ability of his eyes and moved his gaze to the direction of the wooden door. The obstacle in front of him, however, was the wooden door and Suya, who was standing in front of the wooden door and waiting for a response. When he awakened his X-ray ability, Suya was the first obstacle that he could see through. Her clothes instantly disappeared from his field of vision. Her smooth back, plump buttocks, and a pair of legs that weren't very long but were very delicate. The legs were tightly closed, and there was no obvious gap between them. However, the place where the buttocks and thighs met still made his gaze stop for a moment. There seemed to be some kind of energy absorption vortex there, and even the passing gaze would be sucked in. A fragrant back, a slender waist, a perky buttocks, and beautiful legs. These were actually not what attracted Charlotte's attention. What attracted his attention the most was a large tattoo on her slender waist and perky buttocks. It was a circular tattoo. It wasn't tattooed with flowers, birds, ferocious beasts, or lightning skulls, but an emblem. It had complex patterns and runes that no one could understand. These things formed a perfectly round shape that looked like a brand. On this brand, the only thing that Charlotte could understand was the two Chinese characters, Zizhu. At this moment, a thought popped up in Charlotte's mind. This tattoo that looks like a brand is the symbol of a branded warrior? It looks very mysterious, and I don't know what story it has. He didn't dwell too much on this question. His gaze went past Suya and entered the wooden door. Chapter 1461. Behind the wooden door was an office. It was not very big, with a desk and a bookshelf, which was filled with books. Charlotte's gaze followed the sound of the motor, and finally stopped on the bookshelf. Passing through the bookshelves, he saw a hidden space. A few steel ropes were in motion, and an elevator was rising rapidly under the pull of the steel rope. Charlotte retracted his gaze, and looked towards the bottom of the nest. He looked in the direction where the elevator was, but what he saw was a huge rock. He soon discovered that the rock was also an artificial rock with a high degree of simulation. Charlotte thought to himself, placing artificial rocks outside can be explained as a way to avoid detection, but to do the same inside, who are they guarding against? Aren't everyone here the Heavenly Jewel Academy staff? For some reason, although he had only been in the Heavenly Jewel Academy for a short period of time, Charlotte had a strange feeling. He kept feeling that something was wrong, but he could not put his finger on it. The elevator stopped, and before the doors opened, Charlotte ended his vision. He had to be careful. The branded warriors were already very powerful. How could Principal Roland, who was in charge of the Heavenly Jewel Academy, be an ordinary person? Retracting his gaze, Suya's clothes returned to her body, and her snow-white buttocks and thighs disappeared. However, in Charlotte's mind, there was still a trace of the snow scene, as well as the mysterious mark within it. I don't know what happened, but Leader asked me to bring you here, but the principal isn't here. Suya said apologetically. Charlotte said, "It's fine, if he isn't here, we can wait." Right at that moment, footsteps sounded from inside the room, and the door opened. A tall old man with long white hair walked out. His face was full of wrinkles, and he looked very old, but his pair of blue eyes were deep and wise, as if he could see through people's hearts. It was an unforgettable sight. "Principal Roland," Suya said respectfully, "I have brought Mr. Xia and Commander Kong too here." This white-haired old man was Principal Roland, the principal of the Heavenly Jewel Academy. In front of Roland, Suya addressed Kantu Nana as Commander Kantu instead of Nana Jia. Although it was just a change in the way they addressed each other, Charlotte could sense the respect and fear that Roland had for him in Suya, as well as the power and authority that Roland had in the Heavenly Jewel Master Academy. Roland nodded and shifted his gaze to Charlotte. Xia Lei did not avoid his line of sight, but he lowered his gaze a little. He purposely lowered his stance. "This must be Mr. Charlotte Xia, right?" Roland took the initiative to ask Charlotte, looking quite polite. Charlotte smiled. "Yes, I am Charlotte. Hello, Roland's courtyard. Nice to meet you." With that, he took the initiative to stretch out his hands to shake hands with Roland. Roland reached out a hand and shook hands with Charlotte. The moment Charlotte's hand touched Roland's, he was slightly stunned. Roland's hand was very cold, without any warmth. This was the interior of a volcano, and the temperature outside had little effect on it. The temperature here should be around 20 degrees, which was very suitable. How could his hand be so cold? "Commander Kantu, I haven't seen you in 2 years. You're still so beautiful," Roland greeted Kantu Nana. "Dean Roland, you're still so energetic and healthy," Kantu Nana said politely. Kantu Nana said politely. She did not show any displeasure at being snubbed by Roland just now. In Charlotte's eyes, although Kantu Nana was the commander-in-chief of the resistance, Roland did not put her in his eyes at all. "Come in and talk," Roland said as he walked in. "I fell asleep just now. I'm getting old, and I'm getting more and more useless." Charlotte thought to himself, this guy clearly took the elevator up, but he said he fell asleep. What is he hiding? After entering the office, Roland asked Suya to make 2 cups of tea for Charlotte and Kantu Nana. It was the first time that Charlotte had tea since he came to this world. The taste made him feel homesick again. "Mr. Xia, we've received some information about you. My intuition tells me that you're a man with a lot of stories." Before Charlotte had a few more sips of tea, Roland started the topic. "In the information we received, one of them said that you lost your memory. Is that true? Charlotte said, It's true. I've forgotten a lot of things. But as I worked hard, I did remember some things during this time. Then have you remembered who you used to be? Roland's question hit the nail on the head. Charlotte shook his head. Not really. Roland frowned slightly. Then what did you remember? Charlotte thought for a moment before saying, I remembered the violent explosion, the fire, the Blue Moon People's battleship. He grabbed his hair with a pained expression. I also heard a voice. It told me that I must live, that I must fight. Then, it mentioned the Heavenly Jewel Academy. Huh! Roland stared at Charlotte. What did it mention about the Heavenly Jewel Academy? Charlotte said, Only one name. I didn't know about the Heavenly Jewel Academy before, but I thought that the voice wouldn't mention it for no reason. So, I wanted to come to the Heavenly Jewel Academy to take a look. I thought that as long as I went to the Heavenly Jewel Academy, I might be able to find some clues and find my past. Kangtu Nana also stared at Xia Lei with her eyes wide open. This was the first time she heard Charlotte say this. She was a little surprised and confused. Is that true? Roland asked. Xia Lei smiled bitterly. I don't know either. What I've recalled are just some incomplete memory fragments. I can only piece those fragments together to this extent. That was the highest level of lying. Roland was silent for a while before saying, That is a very strange thing. I have never seen you before, nor have I heard of you. Yet, you thought that you could find clues in the Heavenly Jewel Academy, and you actually came. After a pause, his tone suddenly changed. Mr. Xia, do you know that you are being very selfish? Charlotte looked puzzled. Roland said, In order to find your lost memories, you asked Commander Kong Tu to bring you to the Heavenly Jewel Academy. Have you ever thought that doing so might expose our location, and we might be attacked by the Blue Moon people? Charlotte said, I'm sorry, I admit that I am being a little selfish. However, that is not the main reason I came to the Heavenly Jewel Academy. The main reason I came to the Heavenly Jewel Academy is to return to you what you lost. I feel that you need it very much. Roland said, Among the reasons you requested to visit the Heavenly Jewel Academy, there was indeed a description of an important item, but it did not say what it was. I have always been curious about what it is. Charlotte shifted his gaze to Kong Tu Nana. Commander Kong Tu, give it to Dean Roland. Kong Tu Nana stood up and took out a portable hard drive. She held it with both hands and placed it on the desk in front of Roland. What's in it? Roland asked. Kong Tu Nana said, Project AE's experiment records, and some related data. This was snatched from Blackbeard by Mr. Xia. Han Yifei is still researching this project in the desolate city, and this portable hard drive is a copy. It is very important, and I think it is necessary to bring it to the Heavenly Jewel Academy. Charlotte observed the change in Roland's expression from the corner of his eye. There was no obvious change in Roland's expression, and he still looked very calm. However, this calmness only lasted for about a second. A second later, he suddenly stood up and grabbed the portable hard drive in his hands. He said excitedly, Thank you so much. We lost Professor Pompey, and we thought we had lost Project AE. I did not expect you to bring it back. On behalf of the Heavenly Jewel Academy, I thank you. Kong Tu Nana said with a smile, I am just a guarantor. Mr. Xia risked his life to snatch it back from Blackbeard. He should be the one to thank the most, not me. Xia Lei thought to himself, her acting skills are really good. When he heard Kong Tu Nana talk about the contents of the hard drive, he was not surprised at all. In fact, he was even indifferent. After a moment of hesitation, he pretended to be surprised. I'm afraid E has long been researched, otherwise Ma Kuan would not have E energy on him. However, why did he hide it on purpose? Mr. Xia, your actions have been a great help to us. Tell us, how should we thank you? Roland said. Charlotte collected his thoughts and smiled. I don't want any reward. I just want to stay here for a while. Honorable Dean Roland, if only you could give me permission to walk around freely. I would be very grateful. Roland said, That's not a problem. You can walk around freely here, including this office. Charlotte said, Thank you, Dean Roland. Roland stood up and said, I wanted to chat with you a little longer, but I want to take a look at such an important thing that you sent me. How about this, you go back first, and we'll talk next time. Okay, goodbye, Dean Roland, Charlotte said as he stood up. Goodbye, Dean Roland. Kong Tu Nana also stood up and said goodbye. Suya bowed slightly to Roland and then left the office with Charlotte and Kong Tu Nana. After walking out of Roland's office, Kong Tu Nana said, Mr. Xia, did you really remember something? Charlotte revealed a painful expression. Yes, I remembered something. Not only that explosion, but I also remembered a woman. Who is she? Kong Tu Nana regretted asking this question. Suya also looked back at Charlotte curiously. My mother. Xiaolei said, The place where we live is on a mountain. It's full of wildflowers, yes, yes. Before Charlotte could exaggerate his memories, Suya interrupted Charlotte. Mr. Xia, I happen to be free. Where do you want to go? I can be your guide. Charlotte's gaze crossed the dangerous, heavenly road and landed at the bottom of the beehive. Then he said, Why don't we start from the bottom? Kong Tu Nana said, Suya, I want to go to the place where the branded warriors train. Can you take me there? Suya said, Of course not for others, but you're my sister Nana. Of course I'll take you there. Let's go. Our training base is also at the bottom. Let's go there first. The two women chatted as they walked down. Charlotte followed behind them, and the two plump buttocks wriggled in his sight, which was extremely seductive. But he still shifted his gaze to the artificial rock, and he couldn't help but wonder what's hidden behind it. Chapter 1462. Accompanied by the two women, Charlotte walked to the bottom of the Tianzhu Institute. The two women chatted and laughed along the way, and Charlotte rarely interrupted. However, he did not stay idle, observing the Heavenly Jewel Institute along the way. Along the way, many people greeted Shuya, and then looked at Charlotte curiously. There were very few unfamiliar faces in this place, and it was no wonder they were curious. Charlotte walked around the bottom, and finally stopped in front of a library. The library was huge, and the space inside could fit at least a basketball court. It had 3 floors, and each floor had countless books. Many students and scholars were reading inside. Although there were many people in the library, there was no noise at all. It was very quiet, and the atmosphere of learning was especially strong. Charlotte said, I'll go in and take a look. Why don't you go to the training base? How can that be? We agreed that I would be your guide. If you don't go, who am I going to be your guide? Shuya said. Charlotte said, You can be Commander Kong Tu's guide. You guys go ahead, I won't be going. I want to read in the library. Shuya still wanted to persuade Charlotte, but Kong Tu Nana said, Forget it, Shuya. Let's go. Mr. Xia injured Ma Kuan, and it would be bad if he went and caused any more trouble. Xiaolei smiled. That's exactly what I'm thinking. Commander Kanto, go and take a good look. Just let me know when you return. Alright. We'll be going then. Kong Tu Nana and Shuya left. Xiaolei watched as the two women left. Both of them had especially slender waists and sexy buttocks. Walking side by side, they formed a scenery that was especially pleasing to the eye. Charlotte actually wanted to go, as he might find more clues about if he went to the training base of the branded warriors. However, he suppressed this desire. Compared to going to the training base of the branded warriors, he would rather stay in the library and read the books of this world. There was a huge collection of books here, and it was very comprehensive. It was impossible to find a library like this anywhere else. Reading is the easiest way to understand the world. Moreover, even if he didn't go to the training base of the branded warriors, he still had a way to understand the situation inside, and that was Nana. When Nana returned, he would be able to invade her brain and download everything she saw and heard in the branded warrior training base into his brain. How different would that be from him going there himself? Charlotte entered the library. Because there were no outsiders in this place, the library didn't even have a manager. No one asked him anything when he went in, and no one stopped him when he chose the books. Everyone was engrossed in their books, and almost no one noticed the existence of an outsider like him. Charlotte chose World History and Legend of the Holy Thunder. The first book was a very formal history book, and the second was a biography written by an author named Xian Yu. After choosing these two books, Charlotte came to an empty desk and sat down to read. Actually, he wasn't reading, but scanning. Xia Lei awakened the ability of his eyes, and then he controlled it to a level that was just enough for him to scan through two books. The contents of the two books were scanned in a few minutes. Not to mention a word, not even a punctuation mark was left out. Sentences emerged in his brain, and his brain worked quickly to extract the key points from the information and organize them. Our ancestors came from the distant Earth to open up wastelands, build factories, and build our civilization. The era led by the Holy Thunder was the most powerful era in the history of the entire human race, but even so, the area we developed was quite limited. The endless ocean, the forest of no return, the great Maha Desert. These are places we can't develop. The climate in these places is harsh, giving birth to powerful creatures. These creatures are difficult to conquer, and they impede the speed of human development of this planet. When the organized text appeared here, Charlotte's thoughts suddenly stopped, and his heart was filled with surprise and curiosity. This World History is a very formal history book. When did humans come to this planet? Who organized it? How did they discover this planet, the early construction, and so on? All this information should be recorded in detail, but how come there isn't even a starting time? This was a very strange thing. The era of the Holy Thunder was 1,000 years ago. According to the level of technology at that time, it was impossible that even the most basic data could not be preserved, right? The buildings of that era still existed. Charlotte suddenly remembered Queen of Rest's description. Could it be that the humans of this world were really the seeds that were sown by the stone city, Origin? But even if it was sown, there should be a planting time, right? While Charlotte was thinking about these questions, his brain also maintained a high speed. He scanned and filtered all the content in the world history again, looking for relevant records. The results came out quickly. The entire world history did not have a definite time description. Charlotte temporarily gave up and continued to comb through the new content. The Blue Moon people suddenly invaded. With more powerful technology and an evil philosophy of survival, human civilization could not withstand a single blow from the Blue Moon people's fleet. Cities were destroyed one after another, and countless people lost their homes and even their lives in the flames of war. In the most dangerous time for humanity, the Holy Thunder stepped down from his altar and went to the powerful creatures that lived on this planet for help. He experienced many difficulties, and many of the powerful creatures on this planet formed an alliance with him. Then, he launched the final battle against the Blue Moon people. The Holy Thunder and the alliance he formed were defeated in the end, and his body has not been found to this day. Legend has it that his body turned into countless pieces in that big explosion and scattered all over the planet, but until today no one has found his bones, not even any relics related to him. However, the sacrifice of the Holy Thunder gave the humans precious time to breathe. The king of the Blue Moon people also died in that battle, and the Blue Moon people were greatly weakened. They urgently needed the human population to recover their strength. This was also the reason why the Blue Moon people sealed off this planet but did not completely destroy the humans, but this kind of survival was undoubtedly a great tragedy for the humans. The king of the Blue Moon people died in battle, and the Blue Moon people sealed off the entire world but did not completely destroy the humans. This seemed to be one of the things that Charlotte learned from scanning the complete world history. Another thing that he learned was the history of the Heavenly Jewel Academy. What surprised Charlotte was that the Heavenly Jewel Academy had existed since the Holy Thunder era. Its history was as long as the history of the human colonization of this planet. In the history of the human world, it played the role of the highest institution of learning. Human civilization was destroyed, but the Heavenly Jewel Academy still stood tall. The world history described it as the seed of hope for mankind, the spark of the revival of human civilization, the spiritual castle of mankind, and so on. The person who compiled this history book was not stingy with his praise. However, he found another problem. The part about the Heavenly Jewel Academy did not have a specific date of its establishment. The book only mentioned that it existed since the Holy Thunder era, how much it contributed, what honors and achievements it received, and so on. The only thing that it did not mention was the name and time of its founder. Charlotte's purpose of entering this library was to understand this world, but he did not expect to be even more confused. What is going on? Are the people in this world not curious about this question? Are there no historians to study this question? Charlotte thought hard about these questions. His brain began to sort out the contents of the legend of the Holy Thunder. After a few minutes, Charlotte could not help but hold his chin with his hand, a bitter smile on his face. In the legend of the Holy Thunder, there was not even a date when the Holy Thunder was born. Most of what was written was that the Holy Thunder led mankind to build human civilization, and the story of the battle with the Blue Moon people. The writer sang praises of the Holy Thunder and did his best to flatter him. What made Charlotte depressed was that this was a pure text biography, and there was not a single picture of the Holy Thunder in it. Damn, is this a joke? I don't believe that in such a big library with so many books, there is not a single picture of the Holy Thunder, and there is not a starting time of human colonization on this planet. These two books angered Charlotte. He looked up at the surveillance camera in the library, then opened the world history and slowly flipped through it. He wasn't reading this lousy book at all. He pretended to be reading to cover up a risky move, which was to release the power of the brand and create an energy field of the brand. He wanted to completely control this library. The imprint of the universe trembled slightly, and the power of the imprint was released from his body like mercury flowing down the ground. This time, it did not spread like a flood to control the library. Instead, it spread little by little, slowly and carefully in all directions. Even if it was a risk, he had to reduce the risk to a manageable level. The brand power energy field was like an invisible fog, with Charlotte's body as the center, slowly spreading in all directions. There was also the second and third floors of the library. Wherever the power of the brand passed through, everything was actually under his control. Students reading books, scholars researching knowledge, all the brain waves were captured. A huge amount of information rushed into his brain like a tide, and nothing was left out. Not only people, but even the contents of the books were all extracted and entered his brain. At this moment, his brain really became a bottomless whirlpool, greedily preying on everyone's brain waves, absorbing the knowledge in every book. In the eyes of others, this library did not change, it was still so quiet. But in Charlotte's eyes, it was the secrets of many people, and there was a huge amount of knowledge. This information rushed into his brain in a signal that only he could interpret. Where is the photo of Holy Thunder? When did humans colonize this planet? He could not wait to find the answer to these two questions. At this moment, a young woman appeared. Her skin was very white, her face was elegant and beautiful, and she had a scholarly air about her. She was wearing a long white dress, and the size of her chest was not too big, not too small, high and good. The size of her buttocks was relatively full, giving people a feeling that it was very material. Such a woman, no matter where she went, would attract the attention of men, but would not become the focus of attention. The woman was holding a book in her hand, and it just so happened that there was no space elsewhere. She walked towards Charlotte. When she appeared, Charlotte already knew of her existence. He did not need to look at her, he already knew everything about her. He knew that she was walking towards him. He hesitated for a moment, but in the end, he did not do anything. The woman walked to the front of Charlotte's desk and whispered, "Sir, can I sit down?" Charlotte also withdrew the brand power energy field. He had received a huge amount of information, and he needed some time to digest it. He nodded, "Yes, please sit down." Chapter 1463. The woman sat down across from Charlotte and put her book on the desk. It was Energy Conversion. An elegant fragrance wafted into Charlotte's nostrils. It was like the fragrance of a nameless wildflower. It was natural, fresh, and pleasant. However, it was obviously not the smell of perfume. Charlotte was sure that the fragrance came from her pores. It was a natural body fragrance. The body fragrance was so strong that it was almost like perfume. It was the first time that Charlotte had seen such a woman. The woman opened the book and flipped through it. She secretly glanced at Charlotte from the corner of her eyes. The two of them had no communication other than the conversation just now. Charlotte was also reading. His brain entered a transcendent state again. He quickly sorted out all the words and brainwaves that he had just captured. In that short amount of time, he had controlled the entire library. The first, second, and third floors. More than 100,000 books and tens of billions of words and pictures. Ordinary people would never be able to read so much content in their entire lives. However, for Charlotte, it was only a matter of a few minutes. He remembered every word, every set of numbers, and the exact location of every picture in a book. Now, if someone wanted to test him, they could pick a book from a designated area on the first or second floor and ask him the questions in the book. He would be able to answer them instantly. The universe brand had appeared in reality. The power of the brand had been strengthened, and his body had evolved. How could Charlotte's brain not be stronger? As the master of the body and the most complicated and important organ of the human body, the brain had to be the first to evolve. The super brain calculated at a speed that surpassed that of a computer. All the content that had been downloaded in the library was sorted out. The useless things were directly deleted. The useful content was kept and then sorted out. As time went by, the answer that Charlotte wanted did not surface. When did humans come to this planet? All the answers he found were, the first year of the Holy Thunder. The first year of the Holy Thunder was a starting point. Before that, everything was blank. How did human beings come to this world? Some books said that they came to this world on the Pioneer. It was a huge spaceship with more than 28,000 people. The spaceship also carried a large number of seeds, machinery, and other resources. In addition, there were a lot of sperm and eggs. So many people in this world were actually the descendants of test tube babies. Some books said that Earth encountered the end of the world, and the Holy Thunder opened the Stargate. The humans who survived the end of the world directly transmigrated to this world through the Stargate. That year was also known as the first year of the Holy Thunder. The previous records were also blank. The first year of the Holy Thunder seemed to be the standard answer. Before the first year of the Holy Thunder, there was nothing. The records after the first year of the Holy Thunder were very detailed, and the exact time could be checked. For example, when Desolate Border City was established, who was the first chief executive, and so on. After getting this answer, Charlotte suddenly realized that he had made a mistake. He thought to himself, the concept of time does not exist. The concept of a certain year and a certain day is something that we humans have created based on the situation on Earth. It couldn't be used to measure time on other planets, not to mention that I might be in the future. According to the standard of time on Earth, this world doesn't exist, and I don't exist either. The first year of the Holy Thunder, then, the first year of the Holy Thunder. The books here said that humans came to this world called the Pioneer, and it also said that Earth encountered the end of the world, and the Holy Thunder opened the stars and brought the survivors to this world. However, Queen of Rest told me that it was the seed planted by the origin. Which one is the truth? Why am I looking for answers here that confuse me? This is the world inside the box. As long as I find the fragments of the world box and complete the world box, I can solve all the mysteries. When did humans come to this world? This question was pushed to the back of Charlotte's mind. His brain started to organize again, looking for the second answer. The humans in this world and the civilization that humans built were all born because of the Holy Thunder. How could they not look like him? Images flashed in Xia Lei's mind. If his mind was described as the sky, then those images would be the snowflakes fluttering in the sky. There was no way to count them. Almost as soon as he started to organize the pictures, his brain provided him with pictures of the Holy Thunder. Without exception, all the pictures were of him wearing armor and helmet. There was not a single picture of him wearing casual clothes or showing his face in daily life. Some of the armors were golden, some were black, and some were silver. They all had different designs. Some were simple and unadorned, like warriors from ancient times. Some were sci-fi, like warriors from the future. Some were very fashionable. Wearing the Holy Thunder, he looked like a handsome model on the runway. Charlotte frowned and could not help but curse in his heart. Does the Holy Thunder wear armor when he sleeps with women? Transvestite. Suddenly, a picture provided by his brain appeared in his mind. Charlotte was stunned. In this picture, the Holy Thunder was wearing a set of silver armor, but this set of silver armor was neither sci-fi, nor fashionable, nor simple. It looked very simple and tattered, and it was exactly the same as the silver armor he had obtained from the Knights Hospitaller. Even the small hole and crack on the helmet were the same. Seeing it, Charlotte felt like he was struck by lightning. He had worn the silver armor to Stone City, and he had also brought the crystal skull and the box of the world. But after coming to this world, he was naked and had nothing. His two sworn enemies, Casharuiz and Isatab, had disappeared, and there had been no news of them until now. And with their abilities, it would not be difficult for them to find him in this world if they wanted to get information about him. When this picture appeared, a creepy thought suddenly appeared in Charlotte's mind. Could it be that Isatab and Casharuiz did not come to this world at all? Was I the only one who was sent here by Stone City, the origin? Are the crystal skull and the box of the world still on Earth? This conjecture seemed very reasonable, otherwise, why would Isatab and Casharuiz not appear? This conjecture made him feel like he was sitting on pins and needles. He was looking for the fragments of the box of the world in this world, but Isatab could continue their plan on Earth, using the Hellhound virus to create a hunting ground, destroying human civilization, and threatening his women and children. However, this was not all of his conjecture because of this picture. A guess naturally appeared in his mind, and cold sweat broke out on his back. On Earth, he had guessed more than once that the silver armor was a protective suit to enter the box world. It was understandable that he had obtained the protective suit and came in. But how could the Holy Thunder pass through this protective suit? Holy Thunder! Holy Thunder! Xia Lei's cold sweat had already spread from his back to his forehead. That's the name Giovanna and the others gave me. The brothers and sisters of the Salvation Association regard me as the Son of God and worship me as a god. The human leader of this world is the Holy Thunder, and the people here also worship him as a god. Could it be? Could it be? He did not dare to continue thinking. He was the Holy Thunder. All of this was like a reincarnation. 1,000 years ago, the Holy Thunder died in battle. His mother did not fall in love and gave birth to him. His father, Xia Changhe, had been waiting for his birth since hundreds of years ago and had arranged everything for him. He was born, he grew up, he took the AE capsule, and he started the path of evolution. He fought, he found clues one by one, and finally came here. And all of this was just a way to redeem himself after his failure. The source of all of this was the box of the world. The chosen one, he was the chosen one. His destiny was to find the missing fragment of the box of the world. Time and time again. If he died this time, another one of him would come here in the end. Behind all these events, there was a huge hand that could cover the sky. This big hand was not Isotab, nor was it Kasha-Ruiz. These two enemies who had evolved to their ultimate state could not even be considered a finger. I want to go back. I must go back. I cannot fail. I cannot die here. I want to go back and reunite with my wife and child. I will kill anyone who stands in my way. Charlotte repeated this sentence in his heart. His gaze was terrifying. This sentence seemed to be directed at the big hand, but he did not even know what the owner of the hand looked like. Sir. The woman's voice suddenly came. Are you okay? Charlotte came back to his senses and realized that he had lost his composure. He said, Oh, I'm fine. My stomach hurt a little, but I'm fine now. Thank you for your concern. I've never seen you before. Where are you from? The woman asked. Charlotte said, The underground city. I came with Commander Kanto. After a pause, he took the initiative to extend a hand. My name is Charlotte. Nice to meet you. The woman did not expect Charlotte to be so direct. She hesitated for a moment before extending her hand to shake Charlotte. My name is Bailing. Nice to meet you. Her hand was soft as if it had no bones, and her skin was smooth. Women were the best lubricant. Charlotte felt much better. He suppressed all his confusion and fear, and a smile appeared on his face. This library is so big. I've never seen such a big library. Oh yes, Miss Bailing, I have a question that has been bothering me for a long time. I haven't found the answer. Can you tell me? That depends on the question, Bailing said. Her voice was clear and melodious, just like Bailing. Charlotte said, When was the Heavenly Jewel Academy established? Bailing suddenly giggled. Charlotte shrugged his shoulders awkwardly. Is my question that funny? Bailing said, It's the first year of the Saint Lightning. Such a simple question. Charlotte smiled bitterly. It was the first year of the Saint Lightning again. I have a question for you too, Bailing said. What is it? How did you end up here? Bailing said, This is not a place that just anyone can come to. I know Commander Kanto. She is the leader of the resistance, but I don't think her team will win. Charlotte was about to give her an answer when a voice sounded. Hey, Teacher Bailing, why are you chatting with Mr. Xia? Mr. Xia, you really don't stay idle no matter where you go. Suya and Kanto Nana walked over. Behind the two women was a man in his 30s. He was tall and handsome. Chapter 1464. Suya's words displeased the man, but he did not show it. Instead, a glint of light flashed in his eyes. On the surface, he maintained a faint smile, which made him look easygoing and easy to get close to. Bai Ling stood up and said with a smile, Suya, your mouth is still so sharp. Teacher Bai Ling, what were you talking about with Mr. Xia? Suya asked. Bai Ling said, I just met Mr. Xia, we were just chatting casually. So that's how it is. Mr. Xia, let me introduce you. Suya pointed to the handsome man beside her. This is our military officer, Tang Xing. Military officer Tang Xing, the leader of the branded warriors, was actually so young. Charlotte was a little surprised, but he did not show it on his face. He stood up and held out his hands. So it's Mr. Tang, nice to meet you. Tang Xing also held out his hands saying politely, Mr. Xia, I've heard a lot about you, and I've wanted to get to know you for a long time, but I never had the chance. I didn't expect you to come to the Heavenly Jewel Academy, so I asked Suya to bring me here. I didn't expect you to be so powerful at such a young age, truly admirable. Charlotte smiled and said, I didn't expect the leader of the branded warriors to be so young. Admirable, admirable. Bai Ling smiled and said, Are you two men done yet? You two are admiring each other, how can we women interrupt? Only then did the two men stop complimenting each other, and the four hands that were clasped together loosened. Tang Xing said, Bai Ling, can I have a word with you alone? Bai Ling hesitated, can't we do it another day? Commander Kong Tu is here, and I haven't had a word with her yet. Kong Tu Nana smiled awkwardly, Teacher Bai Ling, you can't use me as a shield. Mr. Xia and I will be staying here for a while, you can come and chat with me anytime. Bai Ling's lips curled up, all right, it's been 2 years, and you're starting to speak up for Tang Xing. Kong Tu Nana said, in the Heavenly Jewel Academy, who doesn't know that you two are a match made in heaven? I say, stop playing games of love, get married and take care of your children. Bai Ling blushed. She avoided Tang Xing's gaze and did not say anything. Mr. Xia, let's go. Don't disturb their conversation. Kong Tu Nana said. Charlotte said, all right then, I appreciate it very much. Miss Bai Ling, you guys continue chatting. I'll take my leave first. Goodbye, Mr. Summer, said Lark. Tang Xing said, Mr. Xia, I would like to invite you and Commander Cantu to dinner tonight. Would you do me the honor? It's my honor to have dinner with Mr. Tang, said Charlotte with a smile. I'll definitely come. See you tonight, Mr. Tang, said Kong Tu Nana. Suya shrugged her shoulders. You two are deliberately provoking a single person like me. Well, I should go too. Kong Tu Nana hugged Suya's slender waist. Don't spout nonsense. Also, you're so pretty. The number of people pursuing you can line up a few 100 meters away. You're single. Who are you trying to fool? The two women chatted and laughed as they left the library. Charlotte put the 2 books away and also left the library. Although he had only read a few pages, he had taken the entire library with him. Just as Charlotte left the library, in the Heavenly Jewel Academy's surveillance center, the surveillance projection of Charlotte disappeared. During that period of time, Charlotte's every move in the library had been closely monitored by the surveillance center. The people monitoring Charlotte were not just a few staff members in the surveillance center, but also Huang Kai and Dean Roland. I didn't expect him to be interested in history and the holy lightning. A disdainful smile appeared on Huang Kai's lips. He behaves like an uncultured person. I think even the villagers in remote villages know about the issues he is concerned about. Is that what you think? Roland said. Huang Kai nodded. Dean Roland, this guy is indeed very powerful. However, after observing him for this period of time, I don't think we need to monitor him so closely anymore. It's a waste of our manpower and resources. Roland said. No, continue monitoring him. I met him once, and when we met, there was something about him that I couldn't see through. Also, don't you think it strange that he broke Ma Kuan's hand and arm with a single punch? We all know how Ma Kuan got his strength, but do we know how he got his terrifying strength? Huang Kai retracted the disdainful smile on his face. Go, think of a way to find out what's going on with his terrifying strength. No matter what you find, tell me immediately. Roland said. Huang Kai nodded. I know what to do. Kong Tu Nana is a good breakthrough point, I'll start with her. After a moment of silence, Roland said, Go ahead and do it, don't hold back. Resistance Army? Resistance Army is just a joke. Do your best. Tang Xing will soon become one of the academicians, and the position he vacated will be taken by you. Thank you for your guidance, Dean. I will not let you down. Huang Kai smiled. His smile was cold. Kong Tu Nana, however, had a charming smile on her face. She skipped on the dangerous road, as happy as a little girl who got full marks in a test. Xia Lei followed behind her. Kong Tu Nana's perky buttocks and long legs swayed back and forth in his line of sight, trembling again and again. That beautiful ripple dazzled his eyes. When they were about to reach the entrance of their temporary cave, he couldn't help but ask with a smile, "Commander Kong Tu, what are you so happy about?" Kong Tu Nana stopped and looked back at Charlotte. "You want to know?" Charlotte nodded. Kong Tu Nana grinned. "I'm not telling you, Charlotte." He didn't know that the commander-in-chief of the resistance army had such a cute side. Their caves were right next to each other, separated only by a natural wall. Xia Lei's karst cave was next to Kong Tu Nana's, so the two of them arrived while chatting. "I'm here. See you tonight." Kong Tu Nana stopped in front of his cave. She said goodbye, but didn't enter the cave. Charlotte said, "Can I come in for a seat?" "What do you want?" Kong Tu Nana looked nervous. Charlotte smiled awkwardly. "You don't have to be so guarded against me, do you?" "What kind of man have I become in your eyes?" "You know very well what kind of man you are," Kong Tu Nana said. Charlotte didn't know what to say. "Come in," Kong Tu Nana said. Charlotte smiled and followed Kong Tu Nana in. There was a hidden surveillance camera in Kong Tu Nana's cave, but it wasn't on the ceiling of the cave, but on the wall. It didn't cover the entire cave, and Kong Tu Nana's bed wasn't within the surveillance range of the surveillance camera. This was the academy, after all. Even if there was a surveillance camera, it wouldn't be too dirty. If there were no surprises, there wouldn't be a surveillance camera in Kong Tu Nana's bathroom. "Can I borrow your bathroom?" Charlotte asked. Kong Tu Nana frowned. "Did you come in just to borrow the bathroom? People have 3 urgent needs. I suddenly want to pee. Is there a problem with that?" Charlotte looked innocent. Go. "Seriously, you're so vulgar," Kong Tu Nana urged. Charlotte went into the bathroom and asked Lil Ray to pee. As he peed, he carefully observed the situation in the bathroom. Just as he had guessed, there were no surveillance cameras in the bathroom. Now it seemed that he was the only one who received special attention. The Academy's surveillance of Kong Tu Nana was much lower. "Can you not be so loud?" Kong Tu Nana's voice came. Charlotte smiled and said, "When you pee, can you control the volume of water and the volume?" "Why are you so disgusting?" Kong Tu Nana's voice. "Ha ha ha." Charlotte laughed even louder. "Vulgar? Since you said I'm going to do it, I'll show you how vulgar I am. At the same time, I'll give the Heavenly Jewel Master Academy a vulgar impression, and make them lower their guard." Vulgar people were often looked down upon by others, and most people would have the misconception that vulgar people were careless people, and they would lower their guard. Charlotte walked out of the bathroom, fastening his belt as he walked. Kong Tu Nana turned around hurriedly, a faint blush on her cheeks. "Why are you like this? Like what?" Charlotte sat down on Kong Tu Nana's bed, spreading his limbs wide as he lay down. He did not seem to know that when he came out of the bathroom, he had only fastened his belt, but had not pulled up his zipper. From the zipper, a corner of his blue combat pants was exposed, and it was that corner that was especially eye-catching. Kong Tu Nana's brow furrowed even deeper. Why didn't you pull up your zipper?" "I didn't? I'm sorry." Charlotte reached up to pull up his zipper, smiling as he said, "Your bed is so soft, let's talk on it." "Get out." Kong Tu Nana was enraged, and she pointed at the entrance of the cave. "Why are you angry?" Charlotte said shamelessly. "Life is short, and when it's time to be happy, we should find some fun. Get up, get out." Kong Tu Nana walked towards Charlotte, reaching out to grab Charlotte's arm, trying to pull him off the bed. Charlotte used a bit of strength to pull her towards Charlotte, and Kong Tu Nana leapt onto him. In that instant, his branding energy field enveloped Kong Tu Nana, his eyes turning black as he used his fastest speed to hypnotize Kong Tu Nana's mind, downloading the information he wanted from her mind. A minute later, Charlotte let go of Kong Tu Nana and flipped her off his body. Kong Tu Nana was stunned for a moment, but she suddenly came back to her senses and slapped Charlotte across the face. "You're shameless." Charlotte covered his cheek. "You actually hit me? Get out!" Kong Tu Nana roared at Charlotte. "Fine, how boring." Charlotte turned around and left, not even looking back. When he left, he glanced at the surveillance camera on the rock wall from the corner of his eye. He sneered inwardly. "With this kind of acting, how many points can those guys give me?" Chapter 1465. About an hour ago, Kong Tu Nana and Suya came to a huge karst cave. There were many training machines in the cave, as well as moving targets for shooting practice, virtual combat pods, and so on. Some people were doing strength training, some were doing shooting practice, and some were fighting virtual opponents. The scene was very lively. This huge karst cave was the training base for the branded warriors. Suya introduced the training base to Kong Tu Nana. The people training here are all reserve warriors. Only after passing the final test can they become branded warriors. The number of branded warriors in the academy is always limited to 100. Every year, there will be people being eliminated, and new people joining every year. Survival of the fittest. This kind of elimination system makes those who have already become branded warriors not dare to relax, or they will be eliminated. The branded warrior army of the Heavenly Jewel Academy represents the strongest combat power of mankind. You are undoubtedly the strongest super warriors in the world, Kong Tu Nana said. The Revolutionary Army is not bad either. You have always been fighting on the front lines against the Blue Moon people. I quite admire your Revolutionary Army. I really hope that one day we can fight side by side and chase the Blue Moon people out of this planet. Suya said. I also hope that you can fight with us. With just our Revolutionary Army, we have no chance of winning against the Blue Moon people. Oh right, why do you branded warriors only protect the Heavenly Jewel Academy and not the Blue Moon people? Kong Tu Nana asked. This. I don't know. I asked our military officer Tang Xing, and he scolded me harshly. Since then, I have never dared to ask such a question again. However, I believe that one day we will fight side by side. Suya said. At this time, Tang Xing walked over with Ma Kuan. Ma Kuan's right arm was in a cast and hung with a bandage. His face was gloomy, and his eyes were terrifyingly cold. Tang Xing. Kong Tu Nana smiled and greeted him. I haven't seen you in 2 years, and you haven't changed at all. How have you been? How is your relationship with Teacher Bai Ling? Kong Tu Nana and Tang Xing obviously knew each other, and they seemed to be on good terms. Tang Xing smiled and said, Commander Kong Tu, you asked me so many questions in one go. Which one do you want me to answer? All right, then I'll choose one to answer you. I'm not doing well. You're just brushing me off. Seeing how unhappy you are, I'm guessing it must have something to do with Teacher Bailing. Forget it. Considering that we're old friends, I won't make things difficult for you, Kong Tu Nana said with a smile. Oh right, where's the friend who came with you? Tang Xing asked. Suya quickly said, You mean Mr. Xia? He went to the library. Tang Xing frowned slightly. What is he doing in the library? Suya said, What else can I do in the library? To read, of course. Tang Xing glared at Suya. You talk too much. Suya shut her mouth and didn't dare to speak anymore. Tang Xing said, Commander Kong Tu, can you tell me about your friend? What do you want to know? Said Kong Tu Nana. Anything is fine. He injured a very strong member of my team as soon as he arrived. I am very curious about him. If possible, tell me everything you know. Tang Xing said. Of course I can. Every single one of you from the Heavenly Jewel Academy are righteous, and you all represent the hope of humanity. As such, there is nothing that cannot be said in the Heavenly Jewel Academy. However, I do not know much. Kong Tu Nana continued, telling him everything she knew about Charlotte, not holding anything back. After hearing Kong Tu Nana's words, Tang Xing's brow furrowed even deeper, a hint of unhappiness in his eyes. However, before Tang Xing could say anything, Ma Kuan said, "Commander Kong Tu, are you sure you are not hiding anything? You don't even know where he came from, or what he has done. You don't even know the most basic information, and you dare to be his guarantor and bring him here?" Kong Tu Nana said, "I have already said it very clearly. He has lost his memories. The reason why I am willing to be his guarantor and bring him here is because I believe that he is not a bad person. He didn't do anything bad. On the contrary, he has been helping the suffering villagers and the resistance army who are in trouble." Humph. Ma Kuan gave a cold humph. "Commander Kong Tu, have you ever thought about it? If he is a spy sent by the Blue Moon Empire, purposely putting on a show for you to see, the consequences of bringing him here will be dire." Kong Tu Nana was instantly angered. She felt that Ma Kuan was being unreasonable, but she could not find any words to refute him. "All right, that's enough. Commander Kong Tu, come with me," Tang Xing said, motioning for Kong Tu Nana to follow him. "Where are you bringing me?" Although she asked that, Kong Tu Nana did not reject him, and she followed Tang Xing. Tang Xing and Kong Tu Nana had not gone far when Ma Kuan started arguing with Suya. "Suya, I don't want to see you getting too close to that kid," Ma Kuan said. Suya said, "Ma Kuan, what do you mean? Don't you understand what I mean? I don't want you to get too close to him. You are my girlfriend, you should consider my feelings. How can you be so narrow-minded? Do you hate him because he defeated you? No. If you don't, then why do you hate him? And you don't allow me to go near him? Don't worry about it, I don't want you to be with him. Whatever you say, who do you think you are to control me? You don't want me to be with him, but I insist on being with him. How dare you? I know, is it because he is so handsome? Are you that unconfident? How can you be so rude?" Just as the two of them were arguing, Kong Tu Nana and Tang Xing walked into a tunnel. This tunnel was actually Tang Xing's office. Tang Xing walked into the office in the fork and closed the metal door. "There's no need to close the door, right?" Kong Tu Nana said with a smile. "Aren't you afraid that the Heavenly Jewel Academy's top beauty, Bailing, will misunderstand?" Tang Xing smiled bitterly. "If she really gets jealous of me because of some misunderstanding, I'm afraid I'll wake up laughing in my sleep. But you know her personality, sometimes she's as clear as spring water, and sometimes she's as cold as an ice mountain, making people afraid to get close to her. So, when have you ever seen a spring or an ice mountain get jealous?" Your analogy is really interesting, but it's very appropriate. Otherwise, how could she become the #1 goddess of the Heavenly Jewel Academy? You should be content. If she was as clingy and coquettish as other girls, I'm afraid she wouldn't be able to escape your eyes. Kong Tu Nana said. "Forget it, let's get back to business." Tang Xing changed the topic. "This time, the person you brought is indeed very dangerous, that's why I asked you those questions. This is my duty, if I offended you in any way, please forgive me." Kong Tu Nana said, "We are old friends, you don't have to be so courteous with me. Protecting the Heavenly Jewel Academy is your duty, I understand. However, if you want to know more, I really can't satisfy you, as I've already told you everything I know." Tang Xing fell silent, as if trying to judge the credibility of Kong Tu Nana's words. Kong Tu Nana shrugged. "Mr. Xia is extremely powerful and also extremely mysterious. I felt that he could make a greater contribution to the current situation of our species, so I brought him here. I've asked him to join our resistance army more than once, but he has never been moved. I think that if you ask him to join the Heavenly Jewel Academy, he might agree. This is actually another reason why I brought him here, and I've been hiding it from him. I hope that when you bring it up, you won't mention me. If he doesn't have any problems, I'll bring it up with the principal. After a pause, Tang Xingkai continued, "Other than wanting to talk to you about Xiaolei, I called you here because I want to ask you for a favor. What can I do for you? Help me get a sample of his blood." Ah? Kong Tu Nana was stunned. Tang Xing said, "I know this is difficult for you, but we need to understand his genes. He has a terrifying power hidden within him, and we need to understand the source of that power to determine his identity. We are doing this for the sake of the Heavenly Jewel Academy and the future of the entire human race. You are an upright and respectable woman, and I believe that you will make the right choice. Even if it's for those who died in battle, I'll make an exception this time." Kong Tu Nana fell silent for a moment, then nodded. More than an hour later, now. "Mr. Xia, wait up." Kong Tu Nana's voice came from behind. Charlotte stopped in his tracks, turning to look at her with a mischievous smile on his face. "Have you thought it through? Come here, I have something to say to you." Kong Tu Nana waved towards Charlotte. However, Charlotte shook his head. "I'm not your pet. If you slap me and tell me to come over, I'll lose face." "You! I'm sorry, is that fine?" "I don't care if you're sorry or not. Tell me, what else do you want from me?" "Come over here, I have something important to tell you." Kong Nana deliberately crossed her legs, and her buttocks and long legs immediately revealed a seductive curve. "Heh. Your legs are so beautiful, if I can touch them, I'm willing to lose a second of my life," Charlotte said shamelessly. "Pooey. You can touch them for more than a second, right? Doesn't that mean you won't lose a second of your life?" Kong Tu Nana looked as if she wanted to bite him. Forget it. I've never rejected a woman, especially a beautiful one like you." Charlotte walked over. In truth, even before he spoke to Kong Tu Nana, he already knew what she wanted to do. In the minute that he had hypnotized Kong Tu Nana, he had known everything. Not only did he know about Tang Xing's conspiracy, but he also had a more comprehensive understanding of the training base of the branded warriors. However, in the current situation, he had no time to sort out the information. He had to deal with Kong Tu Nana and the surveillance camera installed on the wall of the karst cave. Charlotte walked in front of Kong Tu Nana and faced the surveillance camera. He looked at Kong Tu Nana's voluptuous breasts with a lecherous gaze. "Tell me, how do you want to play?" Kong Tu Nana suddenly pounced on Charlotte, hugged his neck, and bit Charlotte's neck. Charlotte cried out in exaggerated pain. "What are you doing? Are you crazy? Let me go." Kong Tu Nana bit Charlotte's neck hard again before releasing Charlotte. Fresh blood flowed out from Charlotte's neck, and Kong Tu Nana's lips and teeth were stained with his blood. "Why did you bite me?" Charlotte looked very angry. Kong Tu Nana said, "Who told you to bully me? If you bully me, I'll bite you. You must be a dog in human form. Let's see if you dare bully me again. Forget it, we're even. Stand there and don't move. I'll treat it for you." Kong Tu Nana had gone to get a towel to wipe the blood. Charlotte did not refuse. However, when Kong Tu Nana was treating his wound, he reached out and touched Kong Tu Nana's perky butt. "You," Charlotte smirked. "Now we're even. You, get out of here." Kong Tu Nana's face was green with anger. "I'll leave." Charlotte turned around and left. When he reached the entrance of the karst cave, he did not forget to add, "Your butt is not bad. It's quite bouncy. Go to hell." Kong Tu Nana's voice came from inside the cave. When he walked out of the karst cave, the smirk on Charlotte's face disappeared and was replaced by a cold expression. "Trying to play dirty with me? I'll kill you." Chapter 1466. Charlotte lay on the bed, looking like he had fallen asleep. Of course, this was for the surveillance cameras above his head to see. His brain was operating in an extraordinary state, combing through all the information he had downloaded from the library and Kong Tu Nana's brain. The contents of those books were not useless. The knowledge in those books far surpassed the knowledge on Earth. He had learned a lot of the technological knowledge of the Ahemus Empire from Hao Fong. Although the Ahemus Empire had been destroyed for more than 3,000 years, its technological level was still far superior to that of the current humans. Now, his brain was integrating the technological knowledge of this world with the knowledge of the Ahemus Empire, learning from each other's strengths to make up for their weaknesses and rebuilding his own technological system. This system covered all aspects, such as mathematics, physics, materials, energy, machinery, artificial intelligence, and so on. 2/3 of his brain was automatically organizing and building a technological system, while 1/3 of his brain was doing something else. The image of the branded warriors' training base was replayed in Charlotte's brain at twice the speed of reality. In other words, if Kantu Nana disappeared in there for half an hour, it would take him an hour to replay it. In this replay, he was looking from Kantu Nana's point of view. All the machines and faces reappeared in his brain. There was nowhere to hide from the eyes and expressions of those people. The location of the surveillance cameras in the training base, how many forks there were, and all the details were under his control. Not a single detail was missed. Tang Xing's office entered his brain. The desk, the bookcase, and the chair all appeared in front of his eyes, as if he was in the office himself. In that pastime, in that office, Kantu Nana was looking straight at Tang Xing. But now, he was using Kantu Nana's peripheral vision to spy on this office. Kantu Nana did not notice what he was seeing. There was a document on Tang Xing's desk. The document was open. Charlotte made Kantu Nana's peripheral vision pause, and a paragraph of text appeared in his brain. Number 122 had a strong reaction to the drug and has died. His ability was speed, and the last test was at 200 kilometers per hour. The autopsy results were out. The heart had exploded, and the reason for the explosion was that it could not withstand the drug. In addition, 145 and 178 had strong side effects, and it was very likely that they would die. An energy of 145 was an extremely rare X-ray vision, but unfortunately, he was blind now. Number 178's abilities were the most common combination enhancement and flame breath. He was already paralyzed. AE energy was still very difficult to control. This year, only one qualified product would participate in the test to challenge the last-ranked branded warrior. This should be a report on a specific incident. However, Charlotte could only see so much. After all, he was not in the office. He was able to dig out information that even Kantu Nana had missed, but he had too little flour to make a cake. But that was enough. He had already found the answer he was looking for. As expected, AE had already been researched. The so-called branded warriors were actually super warriors, who had taken AE. There was a description of number 122's ability in the report. Number 122's ability was speed. He could run at a terrifying speed of 200 kilometers per hour. The energy of number 145 was a rare clairvoyant. Number 178 was the most common combination enhancement and flame breath. These descriptions solved the confusion in Charlotte's heart, but at the same time, he was surprised. He had also taken AE before. His ability was X-ray vision, and here X-ray vision was classified as extremely rare. He could not help but imagine, if number 122 was still alive, would he be able to see through objects like him? There was also number 145, who could run at 200 kilometers per hour, and number 178, who had a combination enhancement and flame breath. He did not feel that number 145, who could run at 200 kilometers per hour, was very strong. He could now run at that speed easily, even faster than number 122. What interested him was number 178, who had a combination enhancement and flame breath. That was because number 178 reminded him of Ma Kuan. He had fought with Ma Kuan before, And Ma Kuan's special ability was this combination enhancement and flame breath. The replay ended. Charlotte thought to himself, Professor Pompey and Han Yifei did not research in the Heavenly Jewel Academy. Otherwise, Blackbeard would not have the ability to attack Professor Pompey's laboratory and steal the experiment records and related information. I have seen the experiment records and information. They are very messy and full of mistakes. According to the experiment records and information, even if Professor Pompey did not die, he would not have been able to research AE. But here, AE might not be perfect, but it can at least be said to be a success. The branded warriors are living proof. Since they have succeeded, why did they let Professor Pompey go outside to experiment? Is it to perfect AE research, or is it to create a false impression? How strange. The Heavenly Jewel Academy has 100 branded warriors. This number might seem small, but the combat power of 100 branded warriors is not something that any army would dare to underestimate. With such a powerful combat power, the Heavenly Jewel Academy does not fight the Blue Moon people, but hides here and there, changing locations every year. What is it trying to do? Or is it looking for something? Thinking of looking for something, for some reason, Charlotte thought of the world box fragment. The reason why he had such a thought was simple. For an existence like the Heavenly Jewel Academy, if it was looking for something, how could it possibly be something simple? The Heavenly Jewel Academy had been established in the first year of the Saint Thunder, and had a history of more than 1,000 years. It was closely related to the human civilization in this world. How could it not know what the Saint Thunder was looking for? Just as he was thinking hard about the Heavenly Jewel Academy's motive, Charlotte's thoughts suddenly took a 180-degree turn, returning to a suspicious point that he had overlooked. In order to protect the Huaxia ship, I left the crystal skeletal hand on the Huaxia ship. I did not bring it here, but when I was fighting with Ma Kuan outside, I was not affected by the Blue Moon at all. If Ma Kuan's energy is not within the Blue Moon's range, then mine should be, but why am I not affected? Could it be, the Heavenly Jewel Academy has something similar to the crystal skeletal hand and crystal skull? For example, a part of the crystal skeletal hand, a leg, a torso, or a hand. As he thought of this, Charlotte got excited. Not only was this possible, it was very likely. After the Blue Moon people destroyed the human civilization, the Heavenly Jewel Academy had been hiding, changing locations every year. Until now, they had not been discovered by the Blue Moon. With the current technology of mankind, this was almost impossible. The existence of the crystal skeletal hand was proof. The Heavenly Jewel Academy definitely had the crystal skeletal hand. If you have the crystal skeletal hand, I must steal it. Charlotte could no longer lie down, and he climbed out of bed. He entered the bathroom, and in front of the surveillance camera hidden in the rocks, he took off his jacket and the blue tank battle armor, and started to take a shower. He was preparing for the dinner tonight. He was also continuing to pretend that he was rough. At the same time, in the surveillance center, this fellow, Huang Kai could not help but scold, "What AF * King pervert?" Previously, when he offended Commander Kong Tu, I could not help but want to rush over and beat him up. Tang Xing looked very calm, and there was not a hint of emotion. The two female workers in the surveillance center covered their eyes, but there was an obvious gap in the back of their hands that allowed them to see everything. In the 3D projection, Charlotte was rubbing left, right, up, down. When he was rubbing Xiaolei, Charlotte sighed. "Sigh, I haven't given you meat for such a long time. You're so skinny, how pitiful. I'm sorry, but I already have a target. Kong Tu Nana is my target. Haha, the commander of the resistance, a high-class chick. Give me some more time, and I'll definitely let you eat the meat of a female commander." Disgusting. Vulgar. Pervert. The two female workers could not help but scold him. Is there still a need to monitor this guy? Huang Kai looked at Tang Xing. I think it's best to just kick him out. Tang Xing said, the lab is already analyzing his blood, let's wait for the results to come out. Did you see the blue underwear he took off? Only perverts would wear that kind of underwear, Huang Kai said. Tang Xing said, I suspect that's the blue tank battle armor, that's a priceless item. Huang Kai's gaze then shifted to the 3D projection, staring straight at the blue tank battle armor that Charlotte had placed on the rock. At this moment, his eyes were filled with greed. It doesn't matter if this guy is a pervert or not, or how vulgar he is. He has terrifying power on him, and he also has the blue tank battle armor. We need to get to the bottom of him, Tang Xing said. Then continue to monitor him. Huang Kai said. I'll go back and prepare, I still have to have dinner with this guy later. Tang Xing turned to leave, but stopped after 2 steps, turned around and said, You guys make a copy of this surveillance video and give it to Commander Kong too to see. Let's see what kind of trash the man she likes is. Huang Kai's mouth revealed a trace of a smile. I'll personally give it to Commander Kong Tuesday. Tang Xing laughed. She's not your type. Huang Kai said with a smile, I'll still have to try. After showering, Charlotte put on the blue tank battle armor again, and then put on his jacket. When he was done, Kong Tu Nana came over. She was wearing a purple dress with straps, and at least a third of her snow-white breasts were exposed in the air. That white and tender deep cleavage made people want to bury their face in it and take a deep breath. The fabric of the dress was slightly translucent, and under the light, one could vaguely see the triangular panties inside. It was the same color as the high heels on her feet. Kong Tu Nana's outfit made Charlotte slightly dazed. In his impression, Kong Tu Nana was always in a military uniform, and had never worn clothes like this before. With her dressed like this, her body suddenly had a strong sense of femininity, and was charming and alluring. Kong Tu Nana glared at Charlotte. What are you looking at? Let's go. You're really beautiful tonight, Charlotte said with a smile. Kong Tu Nana didn't want to talk to Charlotte anymore, so she turned around and left. Charlotte followed behind Kong Tu Nana, and when they were still within the range of the surveillance camera, he suddenly said, Are the panties red? Kong Tu Nana's delicate body suddenly froze, and then she turned around. Pervert. Charlotte sighed in his heart. Women are really fickle. In the city in the wilderness, she was a hero, and Mr. Xiao was long and Mr. Xiao was short, but now she's a pervert. Sigh. Chapter 1467. As one of the upper echelons of the Heavenly Jewel Academy, Tang Xing's residence was the most homelike place that Charlotte had seen in the Heavenly Jewel Academy. Tang Xing's cave was exquisitely decorated, using many synthetic materials, metal and plastic. The main color was deep blue, and it was filled with a futuristic aura. From the decorations to the furniture, every place reflected the owner's taste. Tang Xing was clearly a cultured and meticulous man. As they walked into Tang Xing's residence, Kong Tu Nana couldn't help but look at Charlotte with a strange expression. Although she didn't say anything, her eyes seemed to be saying, We're both men, why is there such a huge difference? Dinner consisted mainly of fish, and some meat of unknown wild beasts. Paired with 2 bottles of red wine, it was a sumptuous meal. Tang Xing was very polite. This is not land, after all, and the ingredients are limited. Let's just make do. Kong Tu Nana said, Tang, this is already a sumptuous meal. I can see that you've put in a lot of effort for this dinner. Then she smiled and said, Looks like we've benefited from Teacher Bai Ling. If it was just me and Mr. Xia, I'm afraid there would be less food here. Tang Xing just smiled. Are there any other guests coming? Charlotte asked. Yes, Bai Ling and Huang Kai, Tang Xing said. Then do you have any more red wine? Charlotte asked. Tang Xing started slightly. Aren't there 2 bottles? Charlotte said, 5 people only drank 2 bottles of red wine. How is that enough? Don't be so stingy. Go get a few more. A trace of displeasure flashed across Tang Xing's eyes. Mr. Xia, do you think I'm running a hotel here? I've only kept these 2 bottles of red wine. If not for you and Commander Kong too, I wouldn't even drink it myself. Am I stingy? Charlotte smiled. It's fine, it's fine. I'll just drink a little later. Kong Tu Nana glared at Charlotte, then whispered in his ear, What's wrong with you? How can you come to someone else's house and complain that the host has too little wine? I really regret coming to the banquet with you. No woman liked a man who was vulgar and impolite. Although Charlotte had provided great help to the resistance army, from a woman's point of view, Nana could not accept Charlotte like this. Charlotte said heartlessly, Women shouldn't interrupt when men are talking. If you have any complaints about me, let's talk when we get home. He emphasized the word go home, as if he was lecturing his woman. Kong Tu Nana was angered again. If it wasn't for Tang Xing's presence, she wouldn't have bothered arguing with Charlotte. Otherwise, she would have argued with Charlotte. Tang Xing's eyes were cold. His hatred for Charlotte had reached its peak. Just as the atmosphere was getting awkward, Bai Ling and Huang Kai arrived. Huang Kaichuan was wearing a black suit. His tall and strong figure looked especially tough and stylish in the suit. His hair was styled neatly and styled with gel. A man like him was very attractive to some women. The white-collared woman was wearing a long white dress. She looked like a white lotus that had just emerged from the water and bloomed. She was clean, refined, and spotless. Bai Ling, come and sit. Tang Xing greeted her with a warm and loving smile on his face. Bai Ling just nodded faintly and didn't say anything else. Tang Xing's enthusiasm and Bai Ling's indifference formed a sharp contrast. Bai Ling's indifference made Tang Xing a little uncomfortable, but he didn't show it. He maintained a gentle and elegant smile on his face and took the initiative to pull out a chair for Bai Ling. You guys take a seat. Since everyone is here, we can start eating, Tang Xing said. Tu Nana and Charlotte walked to the dining table. Charlotte pulled out a chair. Tu Nana thought that Charlotte was pulling the chair for her, but before she could sit down, Charlotte sat down on the chair. Tu Nana's body stiffened. She was very embarrassed. Commander Kantu, please take a seat. Huang Kai pulled out a chair for Tu Nana. Thank you. Tu Nana sat on the chair that Huang Kai pulled out for her. She didn't forget to roll her eyes at Charlotte as she thanked him. Charlotte pretended not to see it. He took the wine opener and opened the red wine. Huang Kai sat next to Tu Nana. Mr. Xia, you must not drink red wine very often, right? Charlotte opened the cork of the red wine skillfully and said, Yeah, it's very hard to drink. I think so. It's hard to get food to survive in some rural areas, let alone red wine. After the Holy Thunder era, red wine has become a luxury. You rarely drink it, or maybe you've never drunk it before. There's nothing to be embarrassed about, Huang Kai said. His tone was full of contempt and disdain. Charlotte didn't show any reaction on his face, but he was sneering in his heart. Where were you when I was bathing in red wine? Acting cool in front of me. If it wasn't for the clue of the fragment of the world box, I would have made you kneel and drink piss. The dinner went on in a rather silent atmosphere. Perhaps to improve the atmosphere, Tang Xing picked up a piece of fish and put it in Bai Ling's bowl. He said in a very gentle voice, Bai Ling, eat more fish. You always use your brain. It's good for you to eat more fish. Thank you. Bai Ling still didn't speak much. She was really a person of few words. Charlotte asked, Miss Bai Ling, do you always use your brain? Bai Ling nodded lightly. Studying energy conversion? Charlotte said. He remembered the book that Bai Ling had read in the library. Lark nodded her head lightly. Charlotte said, The current energy conversion technology of humans is too backward. More than 3,000 years ago, the Ahemus Empire mastered the technology to use the energy of spiritual ores. They converted the spiritual energy contained in the spiritual ores to many aspects, such as scientific research, agricultural production, artificial intelligence, and the power of spaceship. It's very advanced. I suspect that the energy conversion technology that the Blue Moon people are using now is from the Ahemus Empire. I don't believe that a race that survives by eating people will be given a smart brain. Huh! Bai Ling's eyes suddenly lit up with excitement. You know energy conversion? Hee hee. Charlotte laughed. I have some bad habits, but I'm very smart. I think I'm a genius in mathematics and physics. Also, I'm a rare kind. I'll discuss the problem of energy conversion with you another day. Bai Ling said, Why wait? We can discuss it after dinner. I think I'm full. Hurry up and eat. We can discuss it after dinner. And then, Tang Xing coughed dryly. Bai Ling, you haven't even eaten the fish, and you're already full after eating so little? Is my cooking not to your liking? No, Bai Ling didn't seem to know how to explain. Mr. Xia. Huang Kai laughed coldly. You say you're a genius and a rare kind of genius at that. It's not that I want to criticize you, but how can you be so immodest? Do you know that teacher Bai Ling is the most talented girl in our Heavenly Jewel Academy? Her achievements in mathematics and physics are outstanding in the entire academy. You're acting like a genius in front of her. I feel embarrassed for you. I really am a genius, Charlotte said seriously. Tang Xing furrowed his brow. Mr. Xia, I know a little about the Ahemus Empire. It was destroyed by the Blue Moon people. If the Ahemus technology was more advanced than the Blue Moon people's, why was it destroyed? You actually said that the Blue Moon people copied the Ahemus Empire's technology, and you even said that the heavens would not give a race that survived on cannibalism a smarter brain. Your argument is ridiculous even for someone like me who doesn't understand much. Huang Kai said, Mr. Xia, there's a limit to bragging. If you go too far, you'll become a laughing stock. Charlotte looked innocent. How am I bragging? I'm telling the truth. Why won't you believe me? Is it because I'm good-looking? Bai Ling couldn't help but laugh. She knew that she had lost her composure, so she quickly covered her mouth with her hands. However, she still had a smile on her face, and there was a slight blush due to embarrassment. It was fine if Bai Ling didn't laugh, but when she did, Tang Xing's face darkened. No matter how much he tried to please Bai Ling always kept a certain distance from him. She didn't even talk to him much, let alone smile at him. But now, with just one sentence from Charlotte, she laughed. How could he endure this? Humph! Huang Kai snorted coldly. Mr. Xia, do you think your joke is funny? Charlotte said, How about this, Miss Bai Ling? Isn't she the most talented math and physics genius in your academy? Miss Bai Ling, you can give me any question, and I'll answer it. Bai Ling was slightly stunned. She didn't agree, but she didn't reject it either. Tang Xing said, Okay, Bai Ling, just give me some simple questions. Don't embarrass Mr. Xia. However, Charlotte said, How can you give me simple questions? Miss Bai Ling, you can choose the most difficult questions. You can even give me questions that you can't solve. He smiled. Isn't this red wine very precious? I can't eat and drink for free, so I'll take it as payment. I'll go get a pen and paper. If you can't solve it, then disappear. Don't embarrass yourself here. Without waiting for Bai Ling to agree, Huang Kai got up to get a pen and paper. Bai Ling looked at Charlotte and asked, Do you really want to do this? Charlotte nodded. I've rarely been serious in my life, but this time I'm serious. It's a rare opportunity for you, so you'd better give me some questions that you can't solve. Okay. Bai Ling agreed. Huang Kai quickly brought a pen and paper and put them in front of Charlotte. Charlotte didn't even look at him. He just pushed the pen and paper to Bai Ling, who was sitting opposite him. Bai Ling quickly gave him a math question. Numbers and symbols took up most of the white paper. After writing the question, Bai Ling said, This question is for this year's exam to recruit math geniuses. Try to solve it. Charlotte smiled. You still look down on me. He didn't even look at it carefully. When Bai Ling pushed the pen and paper to him, he grabbed the pen and wrote down the answer. Bai Ling couldn't help but stand up. So fast? And correct. Huang Kai said, he must know this question. No new questions. Teacher Bai Ling, you don't have to be polite with this little rascal. You are now representing our Heavenly Jewel Academy. Then I'll give you a harder question. Bai Ling didn't wait for Charlotte to push the pen and paper to her. She walked directly to Charlotte's side and started writing. Chapter 1468. At such a close distance, Bai Ling's charming body fragrance wafted into Charlotte's nostrils, and her snow-white skin was exposed from her neckline. These were all things that attracted a man's adrenaline. For some reason, Charlotte suddenly thought of his math teacher in high school. At that time, the sexy math teacher appeared in his dreams from time to time, and he changed his underwear many times for those dreams. It was a familiar feeling, but a strange world. Charlotte's mind quickly returned to reality, because Bai Ling had already given her second question. It was a difficult problem related to energy conversion, and it filled up a whole piece of paper. Bai Ling handed the pen to Charlotte. This is a problem I've been solving recently, and I've already figured out the answer. But I haven't announced it yet, so I'm the only one who knows the answer. Charlotte took the pen and looked at the question on the paper. This time, he didn't write the answer as quickly as he did last time. He frowned and looked serious. Ha ha! Huang Kai laughed. You're stumped already? An extremely rare genius. You guessed it correctly, right? I'd like to see how you solve teacher Bai Ling's second question. Charlotte still didn't move. He was still frowning and looking serious. I think you'd better leave as soon as possible. Huang Kai's face was full of sarcasm and disgust. Don't embarrass yourself here. Bai Ling said, No, you don't know how difficult this problem is. It took me a month to solve it. It's normal for Mr. Xia to think about it, so don't worry. I don't expect Mr. Xia to give the right answer at once. As long as the solution is correct, I'll let you solve it. At this time, Tang Xing said, Mr. Xia, what are you waiting for? You talked big, but Bai Ling doesn't care. As long as you can give me the solution, I'll let you pass. Just say something. Even if you can't solve it, you can just say it. We're all men, and we won't laugh at you when you talk big. You just need to apologize. It wasn't a joke, but it was worse than ridicule. Canton Nana blushed, not because of the red wine, but because of Charlotte. She was the one who had brought Charlotte to the Heavenly Jewel Master Academy, but as soon as Charlotte had arrived, he had been making a fool of himself. As his guarantor, she had lost all her face. Well, let's go back. Canton Nana lowered her voice and said to Charlotte, Apologize to him. Don't embarrass yourself here. Charlotte suddenly sighed. Sigh. Mr. Xia, can't you solve it? Bai Ling asked. Charlotte shook his head. No, it's because you still look down on me, using such a simple question to test me. He pointed to the second question on the paper. You've been working on this question for a month, right? Yes, a whole month, said Lark. You actually want to calculate a month for such a simple question? These questions are like elementary school questions to me. You can't use these low-level questions to insult me. Bai Ling, Charlotte, enough. Tang Xing slammed the table and stood up. There's a limit to my patience. Don't go overboard. Charlotte was not angry at all. He smiled and said, I'm just speaking the truth. How am I going overboard? Men should be magnanimous, not petty. I'll solve this question now. Charlotte picked up a pen and flipped the paper to the back. He started calculating on the back of the paper. His pen flew, and in just 2 minutes, Charlotte had written everything on the back of the paper. Seeing the content on the back of the paper, Lark was stunned. Not only had Charlotte written the correct answer, but he had also included the method of using the energy conversion domain related to the question. Those words were like a ray of light, dispelling the confusion in her heart. She had benefited a lot. Mr. Xia, you're definitely the most powerful genius I've ever seen. Not only did you give me the answer, you even gave me a practical solution. Bailing said excitedly, Thank you. Your hints and help are very important to me. I'm really grateful to you. Tang Xing and Huang Kai had originally suspected that Charlotte was writing nonsense, but after hearing what Bailing said, the two men were stunned, and their faces were burning. This was a huge slap to the face. Kong Tu Nana's gaze shifted to Xia Lei's face. In that instant, she felt a tinge of guilt in her heart. In the underground city, the Resistance Army's headquarters was surrounded by the armored army of the Black Market Alliance and Blackbeard's men. Charlotte had single-handedly killed the armored army and Blackbeard's men. He had even used a bloody method to cut off Royce's head and issued a warning to the Black Market Alliance to stay away from the underground city. At that time, Xia Lei was simply an unparalleled hero in her heart. This was not all that Charlotte had given her and the Resistance Army. He had even donated hundreds of millions of Blue Moon dollars worth of weapons and equipment to the Resistance Army without taking a single cent. However, what she learned from Lianai was that when he was in Peace Village, he was so poor that he did not even have a pair of shoes. How many men in this world could compare to such a breadth of mind? Charlotte had treated her like this, but she had hated him because she felt that he was embarrassing. Seeing how Charlotte had easily solved the problem that Bailing had spent a whole month to solve, she suddenly felt that the person who was embarrassed was not Charlotte, but her. For a strong person like Charlotte, such a genius, wasn't it normal for him to be a little lecherous or even a little perverted? He was not an ordinary person at all. How could she use the standards of an ordinary person to measure him? The feeling of guilt grew stronger and stronger in her heart, and all the negative opinions and feelings she had towards Xia Lei also disappeared without a trace. Mr. Xia, can you help me solve another question? Bailing suddenly thought of something, and her eyes were filled with desire. Charlotte said, All right, seeing that you are so beautiful, I will help you solve another question. However, this is the only one. You'd better choose the most important problem. And Bailing answered, then picked up a piece of white paper to write a question. Her face was a little red, not only because of excitement and agitation, but also because of Xia Lei's, because you're very beautiful. This sentence made her feel shy. A hint of hatred flashed in Tang Xing's eyes. The same sentence, Bailing was shy, but he felt that it was humiliating. Charlotte actually dared to flirt with his woman in front of him. Huang Kai looked at Tang Xing, and he saw the hatred in Tang Xing's eyes. He seemed to have received some kind of instruction, and was about to speak when Tang Xing suddenly kicked him on the back of his foot. He looked at Tang Xing again, but saw a smile on Tang Xing's face, and he immediately shut his mouth. Haha, I really couldn't tell, Tang Xing said with a smile. I did not expect Mr. Xia to be such a genius in the academic world. How admirable! Charlotte smiled. You are too kind, I was not bragging just now. Those words really made people want to jump up and slap him. Haha. Tang Xing maintained the smile on his face. Commander Kong Tu, you are right. Mr. Xia is really a genius that only appears once in 1,000 years. You were right to bring him here. Tomorrow, no, after dinner, I will go look for the principal. I want to talk to him personally about letting Mr. Xia join the Heavenly Jewel Academy. Kantu Nana smiled as well. Just now, she felt that Xia Lei had embarrassed her and made her feel too ashamed to show her face. Clearly, she felt that Xia Lei had made her proud and made her feel proud. Charlotte said in surprise, You want me to join the Heavenly Jewel Academy? Mr. Xia, don't you want to make a greater contribution to humanity? If a talent like you does not come here, it will be a great loss to humanity. Tang Xing said. Is that so? If that's the case. Charlotte gave a reluctant look. Then I'll have to think about it. Tang Xing smiled and said, Commander Kong Tu, the task of persuading Mr. Xia will fall on your shoulders. Kong Tu Nana replied quickly, leave it to me. Charlotte smiled and said, Commander Kong Tu, you have to persuade me properly. I am a soft-hearted person, and once a beautiful woman persuades me, I will listen to her. Kong Tu Nana glared at Charlotte, but this time there was a hint of coquettishness in her glare. Huang Kai's eyes were terrifyingly cold. Charlotte snorted coldly in his heart and thought to himself, if not for the fact that I want to get in touch with more core members and enter the higher level areas, I would not have the leisure to solve your problems. You guys are doing treacherous things under the guise of humanity's hope. Even if I give you all the things I have, you will still hide and not help those suffering outside. At this time, Bai Ling had finished the third question. This time, it was 2 full sheets of paper. When Bai Ling handed the pen to Charlotte, she seemed very nervous, her eyes filled with anticipation. Without looking at the question, Charlotte could guess from her eyes how important this question was to her, and even to the entire academy. Mr. Xia, please solve this question. Bai Ling's voice was filled with respect and anticipation. Charlotte's gaze shifted to the first sheet of paper, and when he saw the content, he was momentarily stunned. This was not a mathematics or energy conversion problem, but an extremely complicated hypothetical problem, and it even had biological elements. Charlotte suddenly understood that this was a problem related to AE. Although the Heavenly Jewel Academy had AE, it was not perfect. This problem had been bothering them for a long time. Should he solve it? If he could, of course, Charlotte could solve it. But what would happen if he solved it? He had to face this problem. Mr. Xia? Can you solve it? Bai Ling asked tentatively. She was a little impatient. Charlotte frowned. Miss Bai Ling, this question of yours has stumped me. Please help us, Bai Ling begged. Well, Charlotte looked hesitant. Humph. If you can't solve it, just say it. Stop pretending, Huang Kai said. Charlotte looked at Huang Kai and suddenly said, I'm very afraid with Mr. Huang here. Can you ask him to leave? If he doesn't leave, I can't solve the question. You. Huang Kai was furious, and he clenched his right fist. Tang Xing said, Huang Kai, why don't you go back first? I'll look for you later. Humph. Huang Kai waved his hand and walked away. Tang Xing stood beside Bai Ling and said with a smile, Mr. Xia, look, I've offended Huang Kai. But it doesn't matter, he has a fiery temper. He'll be fine after a while. Now that there's no problem, you can solve it. Solve it. Alright, I'll solve it now. Charlotte picked up a pen and started calculating on a blank piece of paper. Tang Xing looked at the paper under Charlotte's pen, his eyes shining. Although he tried his best to suppress the excitement and ecstasy in his heart, he could not. Because of his excitement, his hands were trembling slightly. If Charlotte could give the answer, then the problem that had been bothering the Heavenly Jewel Academy for decades could be solved, and the Academy would become even stronger. However, as Tang Xing waited anxiously, more than 10 seconds passed, and Xia Lei's pen only wrote a 1 on the paper. Mr. Xia, hurry up and solve it. Tang Xing urged. Charlotte suddenly put down the pen. Forget it, my thinking is not good, and I'm afraid I'll solve it wrong. Let's talk about it tomorrow. I'm going back to sleep. I'll solve this problem after a good sleep. Tang Xing's expression at the moment was like he had picked up a top-grade spiritual ore, only to find it was just a rotten stone in the blink of an eye. I'll send you back, Bai Ling said. I still have some questions to ask Mr. Xia. Okay, let's go, Charlotte said with a smile. The fish had taken the bait, not one, but a school. Chapter 1469. Walking out of Tang Xing's residence, Charlotte said, Commander Kanto, you can go back first. I'll send teacher Bai Ling home. The young lady had become a teacher. Charlotte seemed to have the trait of being familiar with people. Kanto Nana looked at Charlotte strangely and didn't say anything. Bai Ling said, Mr. Xia, I'm here to send you home. Why are you sending me home? Charlotte said, There's no reason for a lady to send a man home. It should be a man sending a lady home. He smiled. A man should be gentlemanly. Kanto Nana curled her lips and said in a slightly sour tone, I really didn't know that Mr. Xia was such a gentlemanly man. That was true. Charlotte was rude to her. But when it came to Bai Ling, he was talking about gentlemanly. What kind of logic was that? Go back. Hurry up. Charlotte urged. Humph. Kanto Nana turned and walked away. Commander Kanto. Bai Ling wanted to stop Kanto Nana and explain something to her, but Kanto Nana didn't even turn her head. Don't worry about her. Let's go, Charlotte said. Bai Ling smiled bitterly. Commander Kanto seems to have misunderstood something. Charlotte said, What misunderstanding? We're not lovers. Bai Ling said, I can see that she likes you. Really? Charlotte looked very surprised. Why can't I see that? But there are quite a lot of people who like me. Bai Ling pursed her lips and smiled. Okay. Let's go. You look good when you smile. You should smile more, Charlotte said. Don't say that. Bai Ling avoided Charlotte's eyes. Her cheeks were slightly red, but there was still a smile on her lips. When it came to flirting with girls, from Earth to the New World, Charlotte had already flirted with more than a dozen girls. How could his experience be as simple as abundant? He naturally had his reasons for flirting with Bai Ling, Miss Bailing. Do you think my point of view is correct? Charlotte followed behind Bai Ling. The Blue Moon people copied the Ahimus technology, and their technology has not developed rapidly in the past few thousand years. This is the proof. Your point of view is very novel, but if you think about it carefully, it seems to be the case. I don't know much about the technology of the Ahimus Empire, and I don't know much about the war between the Ahimus Empire and the Blue Moon people. But judging from the war between the Blue Moon people and us humans, they seem to be the same as before. There hasn't been any obvious technological advancement, Bai Ling said. Do you know anything about spirit ores? Of course, but we still can't completely control that kind of energy. Energy conversion technology is really too poor, so I entered the field of energy conversion. If you have any questions, you can ask me. I know a lot. Thank you so much. I have a question to ask you. The two of them chatted about academic issues as they walked. Unknowingly, they arrived at the entrance of a karst cave. I'm here, Bai Ling said, looking like she hadn't had enough. Along the way, Charlotte had easily solved a few problems that had troubled her. It gave her the feeling that Charlotte was a treasure trove of knowledge. He knew everything and could solve any problem. She even wanted to extend the road home for another 10 kilometers. She wanted to tell Charlotte all the problems that she couldn't solve and ask him to help her solve them. To a knowledgeable woman like Bai Ling, a super genius like Charlotte was irresistible. Aren't you going to invite me in? Charlotte asked with a smile. Bai Ling was slightly taken aback, and a blush appeared on her cheeks. That, Charlotte interrupted her. I need to pee. Bai Ling originally wanted to decline, but since Charlotte had such a need, it would be unreasonable of her to decline again. He had helped her solve so many problems. Wouldn't it be unreasonable if she didn't even let him use the toilet? Therefore, after hearing what Charlotte said, she didn't even think much about it. She nodded and said, Come in with me. Bai Ling's residence was the same as Tang Xing's residence. There was a door, and it was a very thick alloy door. Bai Ling entered the password and opened the door. Charlotte followed her in. Bai Ling's house didn't have any luxurious decorations. It looked very simple, but it was very complicated. Her furniture and decorations were simple, but there were a lot of experimental equipment and books. It looked a little messy. Charlotte's first impression was that it wasn't a woman's house, but a Frankenstein's house. However, her house also had a unique feature, and that was the fragrance. As soon as he walked into her house, Charlotte smelled a faint fragrance, but he couldn't find anything that emitted it. These fragrances were the remnants of the lark's body fragrance in the air. They were fresh and elegant, giving people a very comfortable and tranquil feeling when they smelled them. "My place is a little messy, I'm sorry," Bai Ling said awkwardly. "It's nothing, I feel good," Charlotte said. "Where's the toilet?" I actually forgot that you came here to use the toilet. It's there, just go in." Bai Ling pointed to a direction for Charlotte. She really couldn't say the word toilet, so she changed the toilet that Charlotte was talking about to toilet. Even so, saying such things to a man still made her feel embarrassed, and the blush on her face didn't stop. Charlotte walked in the direction she pointed to, and along the way, he quickly scanned the house from the corner of his eyes. When he reached the door of the toilet, he came to a conclusion. Bai Ling's house didn't have any surveillance cameras. This was not surprising to Charlotte. Bai Ling was an important person in the Heavenly Jewel Academy, and she was also a female. How could she allow the academy to install surveillance cameras in her house? After entering the toilet, Charlotte carefully checked the situation in the toilet, and after confirming that there were no surveillance cameras or listening devices, he asked Xiao Lei to release the water. He purposely made the sound of the water splashing loudly, continuing to build up his rough image. The sound of water splashing could be heard from the bathroom. Bai Ling frowned and a strange smile appeared on her lips. This man is so knowledgeable, yet he's so rude. It's really strange. He's really interesting. She actually wanted to say that, but she was too embarrassed to say it. Charlotte walked out of the toilet with a smile on his face. "Thank you." "There's nothing to thank me for," Bai Ling said. "After that," she said, "you can go back first, I'll come look for you tomorrow morning." Charlotte nodded and said, "Teacher Bai Ling, before I leave, I need your help." "What can I do for you?" Charlotte said. "Just now, I think a small bug flew into my eye. Help me take a look, and if possible, help me blow it." Bai Ling was suddenly in a dilemma. She didn't expect Charlotte to ask her for this kind of help. "It's fine if you don't blow it, but help me see where it is, and I'll get it out myself," Charlotte said. "Okay." Bai Ling moved closer and carefully got close to Charlotte's face. The charming fragrance suddenly became rich, and Charlotte felt that even the air that came out of her nostrils was fragrant. Some people were born with the smell of a fox, and some people were born with the smell of a body. The hands of the Creator were full of randomness. She got close to Charlotte and looked into his eyes. Bai Ling didn't see any bugs, but she saw a pair of dark eyes, like a black hole in the universe, sucking her in. Her thoughts suddenly stopped, and she stood there motionless. She heard some strange sounds, which seemed to be branded in her brain, in the deepest part of her subconscious, but she couldn't feel the sound at all. Charlotte backed away. Bai Ling, however, was still standing there, her upper body slightly leaning forward. Her breasts were protruding, and her neckline exposed a bit of snow white. The shape of her breasts, the depth of her white cleavage, all of them were full of strong temptation, making it hard for people to resist the imagination. Her perky buttocks were slightly tilted backward, full and plump, and together with her slender waist and long legs, they formed an extremely sexy curve. Purity and sexiness, intellectuality and charm, these elements could be found in her body, and they perfectly blended together, which was why she was recognized as the prettiest girl in the school. She seemed to have been enchanted by Charlotte, and now Charlotte could do anything to her. But Charlotte did something else. He moved his eyes away from Bai Ling's body and quickly walked to a corner of the room, where there was a pile of experimental equipment and a computer. The computers of this time were certainly more advanced and powerful than the computers on Earth, but he was no longer the Charlotte on Earth. His brain stored a lot of knowledge, and he had personally repaired an Ahemus Empire spaceship. Thus, the computers here were very simple for him, and he could easily use them. 20 minutes later. Bai Ling shook her head slightly, looking a little confused. Aya, why am I spacing out? Did you see that? Charlotte urged. That little bug. Only then did Bai Ling remember that she wanted to help. She focused her gaze on Charlotte's eyes and looked carefully. Then, she said, No, there are no bugs. No? Maybe I rubbed it off when I was rubbing it earlier. Thank you, I'm leaving. Charlotte said goodbye and turned to leave. Bai Ling looked at Charlotte's back until Charlotte disappeared from her sight. Then, she murmured, What a strange feeling. What's wrong with me? It was a strange feeling, but she did not know what it was exactly. After leaving Bai Ling's house, not long after, a man blocked Charlotte's way. Mr. Xia, what were you doing at Teacher Bai Ling's house? Huang Kai's face was gloomy, and his eyes were frighteningly cold. Charlotte smiled. Oh, it's Captain Huang. Are you interrogating me or asking me? Whatever you think. Just answer my question. Huang Kai's tone was not friendly. Charlotte shrugged. Well, no problem. I sent Teacher Bai Ling home. I was going to leave, but Teacher Bai Ling asked me a question, and I helped her solve it. So, I stayed at her house for a while. Are you satisfied with the answer? Humph. You better not lie. Why would I lie to you? If you don't believe me, you can go ask Teacher Bai Ling. I'm warning you, Teacher Bai Ling is Tang Xing's woman. You better stay away from her, or else what? Huang Kai said coldly. Don't pretend. If you don't know what's good for you, there will only be one end for you. Feed the fishes in the sea. Charlotte smiled. Thank you for reminding me. I will stay away from Teacher Bai Ling, but you have to take care of her. She said she will come to look for me tomorrow morning. What should I do? A trace of anger appeared on Huang Kai's face. You're being sincere, aren't you? Charlotte suddenly moved in front of Huang Kai, his face expressionless, and his voice was terrifyingly cold. Although this is the Heavenly Jewel Academy, it is not a small place with just a few people. I, Charlotte, have never been afraid of anyone. If you can threaten me, then come at me. Finally, I have to remind you that I might not be the one to be fed to the fishes. After saying that, Charlotte turned to leave. Huang Kai looked at Charlotte's back, his eyes as sharp as knives. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.